Okay, we'll kick off. We'll start with here. Feel free to join in. I'll do it a little bit slower. Kia tau mai te maramatanga. Kia tau mai te rangi mai. Kia tau mai te kaha me te whai whakaro. Tēnei kaupapa. Hui e tā eke. Let's be grounded in clarity. Let's be peaceful. Let's be strong and considerate for this purpose. Bind together, and so it is. I'm going to jump straight. Oh, sorry. We'll just do apologies quickly. So obviously, Councillor Maru is going to be late. I did see a message. Councillor Joey Ellis is here, so
I would like to make one apology through the chair for my attire this evening. I've just accepted a big delivery of our new town flag, so the delivery truck left at 10 to 4, so sorry. I don't normally attend looking, so pop and flustered.
Was this because of the driver?
Okay, so I'll move Councillor Maru's lateness, seconded by Deputy Hart. Oh, okay, anyone again? No, carried. Okay. Just because I'm conscious that we have people in public forum needing to go. So we'll come back to declarations. Well, there aren't any declarations of interest. Come back to 2 minutes and late items after. Okay, so public forum, we have Nikki Pavey speaking around social housing. Yes, welcome up to the front. And so what happens is, welcome to sit down, is we just listen to you, and then if we've got any questions, points of clarity, and then what happens is we actually discuss it in the board report, which is later in the meeting, and then I will email you with any outcomes. Yep, I'll take the timer, when you're ready.
So I'm Nikki Pavey.
And I'm Marguerite. And we both on the committee at Abbeyfield. So I'm secretary, but also in the role of taking care of new inquiries and doing interviews for new residents.
And I'm the house manager. And we've both been involved for about 3 years.
Yeah, I've been on the committee there for 3 years. And so I've become aware of the great need for housing options for older folk. At the moment, we've got 21 women on the waiting list and 5 men. And I think in the last year or so, or the last couple of years, I think the amount of women has increased. And often these are women who have no assets to speak of. They've got no houses to sell. They are renting, and the rents have become really unaffordable for them on their superannuation.
And some living in Motueka Park. It's suited them, but now I know 3 people who haven't been able to cope so well because they're in their 80s and have physical problems and aren't managing, but don't have alternatives. We are not a rest home, and so the idea of Abbeyfield is that it's a flatting for older people situation, and they have to be independent. Now they're normally younger, and sure, they end up often needing more assistance, which we can get them, as would happen to anybody living in their own homes. But we're now looking at people in their 80s with needs already. And the alternative would be, has been in the past, that they might qualified for rest home level care, which now they don't qualify because they're not
they're not needy enough.
No, they haven't got enough of those needs. And we all know that housing is an issue. We know that we do not come anywhere near the UN expectations. But it's quite different when Marguerite and I are seeing them as people than just as statistics. And it's a lot. We've got a lot on the waiting list, and that's changed dramatically in the last couple of years, or even this year.
Yeah.
Past year.
And I think one of the needs that these older folk often have is the need for company, that they're socially isolated, and it's sort of like every field is a great sort of setup really for people to have their social contacts and their health needs taken care of and their housing needs all under the one roof.
That's absolutely true. It makes a huge difference to people's living when they are not on their own and not frightened of being on their own because something could go wrong. They've got companionship. Everybody thrives in that environment. And of course, their meals are cooked.
But I think we need more facilities like this. And I'm aware that in the Netherlands, they are converting old buildings into apartments where both older folk and younger people can live together. And the younger folk often buddy up with some of the older residents, and that seems to work really well. It would be great to have some other ideas.
There was a article in Stuff recently talking about housing and homelessness. 4 out of 5 homeless women are Maori, and particularly single mums. They avoid being out on the streets because they don't feel safe, which means that they couch surf or living in cars and or having sex for shelter. Institution. And we know that the problem actually belongs to all of us, council and community. So our big question is looking at council to support the idea of having a working group to support options to help us move forward. And obviously, we would supply the community people.
Yeah.
People who are interested and care. And some of those would be the people who actually are involved with not being able to move on.
I also work at the Family Service Centre, and we see like support around housing is a regular issue for families. We've got families living in the Happy Apple Backpacker and Motueka or in their cars. Yeah, it's a big issue in the Motueka area, as you all know.
Any other questions? Verification. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
no, great. Yes, questions?
Are you aware if you live in your car for longer than 8 weeks, you are breaching the TRMP?
So you've got to live on the ground instead.
No, you just have to apply for resource consent. Okay, so that, and building consent. So are your people aware of that? No. And are you aware that with enforcement matters, that council advise that they can have no sexual conscience? Are you aware of that? Well, if you are breaching the TRMP and it comes to the council's attention, you will face some form of enforcement action. So I understand you have women living in caravans, perhaps?
Yes.
It's something to be aware of.
But a caravan, they can live in Motueka in a caravan.
Yes, but depending on the, yes, you've mentioned specifically Marchwood Park, but we all know there are many others, mature women living by themselves.
So we can send you some information to help clarify some of those things that board member Hughes is talking about. Have there any questions? I guess just a side note, I'm not sure if you're aware or not that the board is driving a community solutions initiative, and one of the big focuses is around housing. So part of the board's role is bringing groups together to try and work through potential solutions. So I've got your email and I'll contact you anyway. And then when we do our planning for next year, I'll loop you in on that. Councillor Walker.
Yeah.
Just a point of clarification. When you spoke about some of these vulnerable older ladies in their 80s, did you say that they didn't qualify to get, or the criteria to go into rest home they didn't meet because their needs weren't great enough?
Yeah, because they have a needs assessment.
Yeah.
Right, we have been told that.
Yeah.
somebody who was actually well into his 80s didn't meet the criteria.
And do you know if these people are on the MSD housing list? Like, are they aware that these people are living potentially at Marchwood Park, potentially in a caravan slash bus? Or motorhome?
We don't do the social work around these people, so, you know, maybe someone from Age Concern might be able to make sure that they go onto the housing list. That's not our role.
This was a situation where the person lived with his daughter, so it was deemed that she could carry on, but she actually then had cancer and so couldn't. And so there was a big pressure for her to rehouse him, find somewhere for him to live.
I guess further to what the chair's already shared, that obviously this is a problem that we are
Yeah.
quite mindful of in Motueka, and that we have a massive housing shortage. There is a real need for many people, not just our 80-year-olds, but
Right.
you know, many. In fact, I met a youth here today in a similar situation. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, and I'm sure that the chair will CC you into our next meeting so we can continue having dialogue.
Yes.
That's right.
But, no, it happens really.
Pauline Church, speaking about new suburbs in Motueka.
Hi, councillors. I'm back again. I'm now gone, but I'm where the Marai development is. As I say, I'm sort of me and the neighbour, 13 and 15, we had the road go between us. And all that stuff ended up on our homes and our backyard, which used to be lifestyle blocks sort of things with sort of flimsy us. We sort of went through a lot of disturbing rounds because it was the beginning and we're now at the end, which is kind of nice. The beginning was Queen Victoria cut the wires and saying, no, it perhaps should go past the garage. And we were both on that opinion. None of us, we didn't sign off. We were sort of residencies there and everyone else was in the chalets or things that I suggested way back in the 80s. For people to be on Orion, they were, so we had an older one up north, and for older people, they were still Maori speaking. And too far gone to like the 80s, as we were saying, way back in the 80s last century. It was too much of a shock to be thrown out there somewhere. So that's the suggestion why those chalets were sort of put forward. But many issues, it's like trees, everything. Established ones, I'm sort of sitting there and not recognising what used to be. And it's like beautiful trees. And it had not only natives, but plums and everything for the birds. And we're very bird people. But all that wiped out and little saplings stuck. And I wonder if the people knew what they were doing. Because it doesn't make sense. And where they wiped out the garage, because I'm on a push bike and I didn't need a garage, but I've spent all my time developing that into orchard and everything for my retirement. And Fred's lot has gone to help yourself to the park for the new suburb. Some of this is like soul destroying for someone that's 70, I'm in my 60s. I think, what, you know, what the if? Because it's like almost makes you have a heart attack when you're seeing things just you sort of you don't matter. And for a man like that, he matters. Me, I've sat quietly as a coloured person and not wanting to be in a little game of black and white. That's something traumatic. But what the road they put straight on, and I sort of it's taken a lot of my time. I was told you won't be interrupted. So a lot of it's been demanding, it's been emotional, it's been everything you love. It's sure they needed these housing, but in the right perspective would have been helpful. Or some understanding, and even when we're sort of trying to work out a road that's going straight on into a skinnier road, which has gone between me and the neighbour, was going to cause accidents. So you're sort of talking to people that don't know who you're supposed to talk to and this and that, just to get something vague correct so you don't have accidents all over the show. So now they've gone and put a park where my garage used to be, but they've left a space down the far end, which possibly would have been my untouched. And they sort of said, oh, well, perhaps we shouldn't have done that. But first off, it was with Mr. O'Connor with just a third, because I spoke to the lady that did the road that we thought should have gone this way without interrupting the neighbour and me. And the trees, and maybe they needed to thin that out before they wanted definitely the road there. Instead of, and you're trying to reach people, it's like, this can't be, could you check your records? Could you check your data? Could you kindly revise this? Because it's not making, somehow we're supposed to have everything piled on us and yeah, sure, have our back garden or something. I don't think that's insane. And plus this grandmother was born or something like that. It's sort of taboo. It's something where I said, if you want to do something, go around established boundaries. Out the back was like the football field, or, field where you came out of the marae, you could do your Waitangi day, it was all cars parked up to the back of it. And all the celebrant stuff, which was absolutely beautiful. But now it's housing, and now that is supposed to go right up to the road of Queen Victoria with the little wee twigs now, and they want to kick a ball there. Well, it's going to end up on the road. It's going to stuff everything up. And as I say, I'm at the beginning trying to, please don't do this. We both loved being where we are. He could have his cattle. I believe in agriculture. I believe we need food. Yeah, but I'm just saying, perhaps they want to view this park because it'll be easier coming off Whakawera Street if they had a little, like the abandoned hay shed that they sort of ripped out of Fred's was a new one. And maybe that could be a bike shed or something, and then come in off there. When I speak to the workmen, you think, how the hell are they going to get in there other than use the skinny road? When you measure the amount of ground left, perhaps they need another road going in there. But it could also be for the playground, and it'll be better off situated down there. And I'm still in bewilderment as when am I allowed a garage, maybe me orchard back and everything that I've looked at.
Thank you.
So that's sort of squeeze. It's been agonising.
So
But I think it would make more
you're talking
sense.
about Whakarewa Street and
Well, the one going past high school down to Quebec. I think it's Whakarewa, is Whakarewa? And it's on the corner of there, but it's sort of all that's left now as a fallow. You measure the grounds, you measure where they stopped. That's sort of where perhaps we shouldn't have done that. They did 3/4 of it, said they weren't going to do it with Mr. O'Connor. Then they just rock up.
what we'll do is
Peanut
go back to
turn.
roads and reserves. But Pauline, I do not have a contact
I'm
email
not
for you
on email, it's scary
or a
stuff.
number. So
you
the
can
last
phone
time you
number.
spoke, I couldn't.
As I say, it's a bit, I've had little with Rob or something, and the people
So if you
down at the
want to
council.
maybe give Gavin
That's-
names just to contact you, even if it's
Yeah,
an
or even
address.
if they sit with yous or something. I don't know,
And then
that
we
makes
can
sense.
contact you after, okay? Because we've got
Sure.
a couple more people to go through. So
Okay, and I'm not, yes,
give
I
me your
appreciate it.
something.
I do, but I think it makes more sense, and you're trying to make more sense so it applies to everyone. It's like the road, you have to.
Well, that we
What for the
unfortunately, I would love to be able to wave a magic wand and make all of this stuff happen. But
Disappear.
the community board has a real finite.
But you also have the
Mandate.
responsibility to what was signed
We
on.
advocate for our community, so we'll do.
Well,
do
likewise,
give,
know,
contact to
something that.
Pauline.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Helly,
overall situation and
Mr. Hellier,
everything
you're up.
availability. I sort of sketched it. That's sort of, it's hard to understand perhaps. But that's where my shed and that's.
All we
what
need is a
can't do
contact.
There, but there's the empty space which makes that full space. And it'll be easier to come into here. Yeah. On for the grading. 041,
Madam Chairman,
5.
members of the board, those standing, ladies and gentlemen. I spoke to the board last month about an important document titled Important Information about the way we manage our communities. A copy was sent to the board and I hope you've all received one copy. Today I want to bring to the board's attention another important document. This 130-page document received by the council on or near the 21st of August 2023 is in the form of a proclamation which has been sent to all New Zealand councils and was composed by a group of concerned citizens from Hamilton. This proclamation lists more than 100 examples of law breaking by New Zealand councils, including the Tasman District Council. Here are a couple of examples. First, the Rating Powers Act is used to extort money, rates, from citizens referred to as ratepayers. Section 4 of the Act states, this Act binds the Crown. Purely and simple, this is extortion. Extortion is included in the Crimes Act under blackmail. I believe a CEO is required under Schedule 7 of the Local Government Act to ensure all regulations and laws are complied with. On this example, a CEO who leaves a CEO liable to a term of imprisonment. The Local Government Act refers to persons. The Interpretations Act defines persons as corporations or body politic. That's not us. We're people, yet this legislation is continually being inflicted on us by the council. I believe this to be repetitive, intentional harassment involving a power imbalance. I believe this proclamation by law is required to be made available for public viewing in the council reception areas and public libraries. So I'm asking the board to obtain a complete copy of this document from the council and to ensure it's available for public viewing in the library and the local service centre. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Hellier, are you referring to a copy of the document, the historic one that you sent out to us?
Beg pardon?
A new one?
This here is this one here.
Yeah.
I can't let you have it's only a part of it because it's addressed to the Auckland CEO. But these proclamations were sent to every CEO in New Zealand. The Tasman District Council's one will be addressed to the Tasman District Council CEO, who at the time was Ms. Dowling.
Thank you. Mr. Griffiths.
Afternoon. Thank you very much for letting me speak today. The purpose of today's meeting was just to circle back after our initial discussion about a month or so ago, update you on some of the communications I've had, and look to have an open discussion about some of the issues that we are looking at. What I've got here, just given you, is a series of email communications. I think it's just important that you understand where we're at with some of the engagement that we're doing for Seaview Heights within the community. And I just wanted to address those so we have transparency around some of the issues that we are responding to. You'll see in the first email there, you'll see a set of red answers. That's the responses from one of the group managers. I don't know which one it is on TDC, but with regard to the queries that I raised at the previous meeting. One of the questions that came up, or one was asking, is where do we expect to see Motueka retreat to in the event of climate change, and what is forecast to come? And those forecasts can be found in terms of sea level rises on the next page. You'll see there, again, we've highlighted where Seaview Heights is relative to Motueka, relative to TDC's own sea level rise forecasts of 2 metres. You can see there quite clearly that Seaview Heights is well protected in terms of long-term insulation against sea level rises and further climate change. So one of the questions was, this is one of the big questions we will have to work through with the community as part of the Community Adaptation Project Master Plan. We don't think it's actually that big a question based off your own modelling. It's not a big question. We have the answers. If logic prevails, you would include Seaview Heights in any future development strategy. I will be responding back to TDC to these responses that they have given us, and I will be doing it in a formal way. But just even using your own TDC's own information, it would suggest that Seaview Heights should be part of any solution. It's not a pop-up solution. And again, raise the issue about timing. The council is quite happy to move a location of a community swimming pool due to the threat of sea level rising. Then they should be able to make a decision for housing. So again, my question is back to TDC. What are they doing about the eastern side of the eastern side of Motueka? It appears that at this stage, quite happy to move infrastructure, but not actually act on housing. This will form part of the master planning. This is in terms of what's going to happen in terms of freehold titles. TDC has already consented a whole lot of leasehold properties, but there is no prioritisation for freehold options by the looks of it. I don't know why that wouldn't be the case. They're talking about setting up, commencing in 2025, a significant piece of work that needs to be done. And I would say, and we would say, that if common sense was to be applied, then considerable resources need not be applied to what is a logical location for housing in this district. They then go on to say that the board will be encouraged to be involved in this project, although, just to be clear, delegation lies with council regarding decision making. And I will elaborate on that, but from where I sit, that clear delegation does not seem to sit with the council. It seems to sit with other parts of the community, namely iwi. We go on and just asking for clarity around that when landowners were informed, and the statement back to us is landowners have been kept fully informed of all decisions made through future development strategy process. I can quite clearly evidence that that has not been the case, and it only came about through us actually promoting this site. So there is a lack of understanding or due diligence when it comes to some of these responses. The further query we get back is that we see all development proposals, whether that is plan changes or resource consent applications, and they can indicate whether they want the applicant to discuss the project with them. For large proposals, it's good practice for the developer to front foot things and go to iwi before submitting an application. The applicant is required to demonstrate that they have talked to iwi. This is exactly what we have done. But it's a contradiction to say that the delegation sits with the council. It seems to be sitting with iwi. And we have front-footed those conversations. We'll talk to those very shortly. In terms of being informed of the JV partners, we were just directed to a TDC website, which wasn't actually all that helpful in terms of then going and communicating. We are then told that if the developer and iwi cannot reach an agreement, then things would ultimately be decided through a hearing. I mean, what hearing would that be? And who would pay for that hearing? In relation to the JV, TDC staff were aware of strong iwi interest, and at the time of the assessment, iwi strongly opposed the development of the area on cultural grounds. Well, that seems to me that the delegation sits with iwi, not with TDC. We'd like to know which iwi strongly opposed this development. What are the cultural grounds raised? It's never, ever actually been addressed. Then it goes on to summarise, the site was considered and rejected through the development of the Future Development Strategy 2022 for broad reasons set out as follows. And this is an old chestnut that we keep on recycling. Cultural heritage significant to our iwi partners. What do we as a community get out of this partnership that is being referred to? Highly productive land. It'd be helpful if TDC staff actually listened to the councillors who have been to that site on numerous occasions, and everyone has agreed from Tim King down that this is not highly productive land. A lack of servicing water waste, water, etc. There are bores already on that site. We can do water harvesting, and there's ample water within this district. A lack of public or active cycle walking ways servicing the site. I'm glad that roading wasn't raised because that's already been addressed, but we have already highlighted how this area can connect both into Motueka, into Tasman, and further on down to Mapua. We've highlighted those cycleways. I don't know who writes this, and it'd be really useful when people do respond that actually put their name to the actual responses, just as a matter of courtesy. But we have relitigated this information time and time and time again. It's in the assessment, it's an assortment of desktop ideas that we're dealing with here, of cultural heritage, highly productive land, lack of servicing, which the future development strategy, where is the economic considerations in the actual strategy? I have seen none as to the benefits of Seaview Heights relative to other areas around Motueka. I'll then just ask you to turn, if you may, I'll just give you, I have reached out to the 7 iwi. They've got 3 responses. I've had 2 meetings. One was with iwi in Picton. I offered to go and meet with them and ask for their proposal, which they were going to send to me. I never actually got a response back. I have had an engagement with Darlene Stevens at Ngāti Kama, which I've copied in here for you, and highlighted some of the points in that conversation. They mentioned that they would like to do a site visit. Water flow concerns and spiritual and physical water flow remain a key concern for them on this site. As I mentioned, our approach will include bore water and water harvesting, which we talked about to address those issues. I asked for documentation to give me examples of what is it we're actually going to get provided with. I was told that that could not be forthcoming. I was told that the information we had provided, which you all saw at the last meeting, which is a fairly comprehensive piece of work that was done at a significant cost to ourselves, which included a site scheme, the wetland areas, proposed roading and sites, zone of theoretical visibility analysis, land use capability analysis, sea level rise analysis, that I hadn't provided enough information to be able to then to engage with. I find that where is this idea of partnership? I asked if I then went in and actually had a session with, thanks to you, Chair, really greatly appreciate it. Put him in touch with Nell Kelly, who's part of the iwi team there, and a very, very useful person. I highly commend her to TDC. She and herself said that public engagement is overly complex and challenging to navigate. She highlighted to me the areas of cultural significance for the site, which you will see there. If you actually have a look at it, you can see you go up School Road, you go around Lindup Road, you go down Seaview Road, then it goes into Rolling Loop and then into Robertson Road. The areas that are marked there, those are areas of cultural significance. They are nowhere on our development proposal. And what is there in the left-hand corner is going to be subject to sea level rise, and we are going to give that up to a wetland area. So my question is, why are we asked to go and do a piece of work at a significant cost to ourselves when there is no cultural significant areas of cultural significance based off your own TDC mapping? I will be putting this into a more logical response in terms of a written response seeking clarity. I did ask that if Davina could mark the sites on the attached map for clarity. I got no response. I did ask who are the iwi monitors who will be engaged on this site. I got no response. And I said, the area we intend to develop has limited architectural sites. They are primarily located on the fringe outside the development zone, and they've already been developed. So my question is, a number of questions. How do we work together to address the housing needs in Motueka as a community? Where else can Motueka retreat to? Seaview Heights, to me, is the most logical place across the district. We keep on hearing about TDC, about the considerable resources and planning required, but we too are applying considerable resources and cost. And yet we are no further to understanding what is the pathway forward. We keep coming here and other various meetings to ask what is the pathway forward. We're told that we can do a private plan change. How stupid would we be to go and start that process given what we're dealing with here? I believe that no weighting has been given to the economic voice within the community. I see no reference to that. Will appointment of a Maori board make this process easier? Yeah. What should we expect from this partnership that TDC refers to? We have front-footed it with iwi. We got 3 responses and ended up in a dead end.
Thank you for putting in all that extra work since you addressed the board a couple of months ago. It was good to actually meet on site and see the area and ideas. And yes, sorry to hear that you've only had 3. So I've jotted a whole lot of questions down, but I didn't want to email through.
Yeah, I'll do
Any
a
of
formal
those?
response to the last 2 months of engagement. And I would ask, if I may, whoever does respond from TDC, that they actually do the courtesy of putting their name to the responses. So we are not having to keep on relitigating information, which we have already pulled over for the last 18 months to 2 years. Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
I would like to put a question to the board in relation to this, that council immediately stop hiding the names of people that provide these answers.
To be fair, that was an extract out of an email. So not the whole email was copied, which would have had the name. So I could have forwarded it.
There is an ongoing concern with people saying, I've got an answer, but I don't know who's given it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do hear that. This one is a slightly different case, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, councillor Walker.
Through you, Chair, it's probably more of a question of the board as opposed to the presenter. But the first person who spoke today, two people, were talking about their concerns around housing and the crises that our community sits with. So I'm wondering, when we reconvene next year, will this become a topic that this board will address at your next hui that you've been talking about? And are we going to have a voice that we can go back as our advocate role of the community board back to Tasman District Council to explain and ask, what is the pathway moving forward? Because this is one group of people coming up with some housing solutions, and yet we seem to sabotage them making any movement forward over a partnership that we currently have. So how do we move this forward so we actually gain some traction? Because this will not be the only developer that's struggling with engagement with iwi.
I will be in touch after we've discussed and like I said to the Nikki Pavey, I'll loop you in on some of those other discussions we're having around solutions. I know this potentially could be one in the respects that it could be a varied in as an affordability housing project, which sort of might meet needs that we're looking at.
Is there any updates on progress with the storm, with the sewage system at all? As the wastewater treatment plant, is that those discussions been kicked off?
We did a site visit with some new technology that was looking very promising, but of course, at the current site. So that now could potentially be part of the mix of those conversations moving forward, but we're still way off on the details of site location, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully a prosperous New Year.
Yes. Step forward.
Don't appear too tech savvy, but I think the library is going to shut down on the freebies, so I've got this one as a backup. It's not because I'm not a geek, but I'm not a geek, so there we go. So Chair, Board and councillors and from far and wide, including talking with Grant earlier. So this is a bit of an update on where the facility I put through with the council via Graham Fox. Okay, so what we want to look at is, it's like a freebie. The investment's been made by the council in display of the solar assets that the council's got. And in as many of the councils around the country, TDC has probably the highest concentration of solar assets that are able to be displayed. But it's a bit like, at the moment, hiding your light under the bushel. And if one went back to the biblical days, you don't do that kind of stuff. It goes far back in the territory. So what I want to have a look at is that, and Gavin, could you please bring up the screen? Yeah, this is TDC website. Everybody can go on if they need to, but we go onto the website and we look for our solar generation. And that will show 6 sites on the display page. So we've got TDC have bought 20 pages of assets to be able to be displayed. That includes Takaka, Richmond, Bright Water Treatment Plant. And if we look at the screen now, that is the TDC website. And we want to see how much solar generation is available. We're now looking at the total. Kevin, could you just pop the, just expand that screen? It's above it's on the underline to the left, middle left. If it says expand, it's a little, just go in the middle of the page. Yeah, go. So click here to open up on a new, it's going to give a bigger window. So the soil analytics operation in Australia is what provides this facility. And the loggers that are sitting in that room over there are feeding up information to that. So now we've got the benefit of seeing what it's got. So let's look at Tasman District Council. If I walked into the TDC facility like I did this morning in town, we wouldn't be seeing what we're seeing now. If I went to Wakefield, I wouldn't be able to see what the Brightwater treatment plant's doing or what TDC is doing for the residents of Brightwater. If I took the trip across the hill, back in Richmond. So if I go to the Richmond Library, it would be great for ratepayers and visitors et al. To see what's happening, might be at an arrival board. So in Cairns, in Australia, where we put this together, they've got it in every single facility. You walk in and it's there all the time. It's a display board to say, what are we doing about climate change? How are we doing it? There's the Motueka Library one. That flat line curve is because you've got there's a problem on one of the loggers, but that's neither here nor there. And Grant, this is your one in Takaka, and you can see that it's showing more growth, more solar production than consumption. So the point being here is that in each of the service centres, TDC do have the hardware to be able to connect via the Wi-Fi and simply click on like Gavin did, and it's going to be a rolling screen. That can be the Motueka Service Centre if you're staying in line there. It's all about bringing forward and promoting what TDC have done anyway. We're currently finishing the AQC, which I call the Aquatic Centre. There are 2 loggers going in there. Port Tarakoe, another one for Grant's territory. That's going to be done next year. And there will be other assets come on as and when we do. But I hope councillors can see the benefit of what this is. There's no more cost. You've already paid for it. Ka-ching. Now start maximising and leveraging that so that the people who come into these beautiful facilities like this can sit and say, wow, look what TDC is doing in and around the place. So that can be done by the IT department to be able to action screens that are available there. I'm getting on to low time here. I better just go keep them. Okay, so multiply that by all connection screens in the front of house. That can be Murchison, it can be wherever there are screens. It's going to really maximise what TDC's made an investment of at no extra cost. If any councillors are available on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, then they can see the cleanup of the saltwater baths, if you're not busy. But why I'm raising the baths is I was there yesterday, and notwithstanding the acrimonious dog laws that have gone through, I saw a guy with 3 huge dogs. On the pool, the kids swimming, his dogs are going hot berserk. And I said to the guy, mate, haven't you seen the sign? He said, no. He said, what sign? I said, and in his defense, the sign, if you go down there, is a small little wee sign under a box and you can hardly see it. So it was covered over. I said, please, can you remove your dogs because kids are not happy. You can see it. He said, my dogs are fine. It's not going to happen. You know that where that discussion's going. Every person who's asked to look after their dogs will never bite anybody. So I spoke to Nigel Duff in relation to the second part, which is the kids jumping off the pool. If you go to the pool, there's a wall where you can put no diving here. Stop. No dogs allowed. So on the business paper for next year, if we could put in a request for signage so that the council can be probably alleviated from potentially some liability, if the signage is not good. People have scraped off dogs and this dog you do it, it's DOOS, whatever. So I use it quite often. So that's part of what I'd like to do and put that on the paper for next year, whether it's done via an application for a community grant, but it certainly needs to be done. I'm done. Mary Hitty, is it? Did I get that right?
Very close.
Okay.
Did anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
Okay. So. Thanks, Kevin. Okay, now we're just going to circle back. Late items. Now, I think I'm just going off our meeting, we had the finance one, but I think that will be covered, so just in case. If we do, we potentially, I don't know if it'll be in the board report or the finance report, looking at. Yeah, well, actually, we can just do it under that, so it's in the already. Okay, so confirmation of minutes. Anyone wish to move? Did everyone see? the minute?
No, I haven't, but I understand there isn't the explanation that you asked for. Is that correct?
In regards to voting?
By voting. Yeah.
It's not.
Okay, well, I'll be voting against it then.
Anyone wish to move the minutes?
Can I just have a point of clarification? In the Local Government Act for Community Board, does it clearly state that we can't have our reasoning behind if we vote or abstain from something?
No.
Is that your choice as our governance body, or is this a piece of legislation we're bound by?
It's across all of local government where through the chair, where minutes are not, minutes are only a record of a decision, they're not a transcript. We've had this issue in a TDC context, with a councillor, and that went on for a long time, and that set the tone and the position for what we've got here today for Tasman. So we, because what can happen is that if we start going, John Smith voted against because that, then we turn into Hansard. And also we've got people, all of our meetings are recorded as well. So you've got that comfort. And I understand that, you know, if someone just reads it, at least you can say, look, we've got the recording here. So that gives you that a level of comfort, that it's on record. But as far as the function and the purpose of minutes, it's only to record decisions. Many councils don't even record annotated minutes. It's just a whole bunch of decisions and that's it. So yeah, so it's a combination of what established convention is and the flow-on impacts of that. Because otherwise you're getting a whole staff member in just to record and transcribe, and that's just not, we just don't have the resource to do that.
So some of the board's issues, as you know, when we first started, we had a lot of technical difficulties and it was not recorded. So hence why minutes are really important. But also in that particular case, it would have been good to have something in regards to the discussion of why board member Hughes decided not to go, because it could be seen for other reasons, which we want to try and avoid. Anyone pinpointing someone for something that was completely innocently making a decision based on not what it could be conceived to be. So it's not captured in the minutes. LGNZ said you can capture whatever you want in the minutes. Tasman District Council have obviously gone a different path for reasons Gavin's just mentioned. So I'll put it out to anyone who wishes to move the minutes. Okay, so and I'm assuming that's based on, because that's not in there, so I guess we put it forward that if we have something in the minutes around that discussion to safeguard board member Hughes, then someone will be willing to move the minutes.
I'd be happy to move if you added that in.
Okay, cool. All right, so I guess I'll throw it back over to you, so advisors.
Through the chair, this has been a discussion that Leonie, Janine, former CE has had, and the policy line's been set, and that's what I'll be following today. So your option in this case, if you're not, then you're more than welcome to take that up with my CE and have that discussion, and then we can move it to the February meeting for passing and or any other corrections. But
we'll move forward the minutes.
Just through the chair, I just want to test, so I get the absent in this context. But does it also then mean that if I move something and support it, I get to add a reason why?
What was that, sorry?
So if we have a motion,
Oh,
not
yeah.
move something.
Yeah.
Do I then also get the opportunity to have a context about why I've supported this decision? And
That's
the minute,
you feel you need to have included? It depends on the contents of the,
there's no difference, is there?
Well, there is if I'm going to get called a racist, mate.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
that's basically the.
Here's
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes.
Mhm. So through the chair then, so the other way for this board to get a different outcome than what council has, perhaps it's through standing orders.
Which way we've got the draft, how Jen said.
So to your question, I'm happy to move the minutes, but I don't think there's going to be a second to anybody else because the context is there. And if we were to byline every discussion and a decision that we had around this table, the other table, because the context was really clear. Why board member Hughes didn't support it because he said, I'd rather them all be grouped together and save money. And so we've probably said that about 5 times in this forum, both back then and again today. So for anybody listening or watching, it's pretty clear why that was.
But reading, maybe not.
Yeah. So I'm happy to move, but if there's not a second, it's going to fail.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Oh, no.
So through the chair, I'm just going to pop on screen what I've popped in as the commentary. I feel it meets our policy requirements and convention and also conveys that discussion. You just pull it up. All right. Just to attempt to give you some peace of mind that,
There was definitely mention. It's just unfortunate it doesn't tag board member Hughes's name to that, which is what the concern is.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So through the chair, if you went to bullet point 4 and you could have just added, board member Hughes was concerned over the cost of street name changes and the financial impact of making changes individually rather than larger batches. So in which case, but I guess.
again, it goes back to the policy and the approach that we don't identify individuals because the minutes represent you as a collective. And so if you have a vote against, then you could go through a division. There's other mechanisms you can use. But again, I think if you want to take that up with the chief executive, feel free, but convention and process has been established by this council.
Perhaps we should take it up with the CE, not that. Anyway. We'll follow the suggestion.
There's a policy in place. We've enveloped under that. And we do have opportunity, like Councillor Maru said, to look at our Senate orders and to discuss with the CE. So I take it if there's no seconder, the minutes from November will not be moved. Do I have to move that? Move that the minutes don't get moved. Mr. Kirby?
Thank you, the doctor.
I did get them. So that's it. That's it.
You
Okay,
haven't got a true and correct record of the last meeting.
Oh, question through the chair if I can.
Yeah.
Would there be a seconder if the minutes are moved with the exclusion of 8.5? It means that every other decision there isn't been ratified. And so all the other work of the rest of the meeting, you're not going to have a formal adoption of that as being true and correct.
just that one section.
So if I move the exception of the minutes with the exclusion of 8.5, is there somebody that would like to second that?
Okay, we got a seconder based on that? Yep. Okay, so do you want to, I don't know if you need to jot that down accordingly. So Councillor Maru moves that that the minutes be adopted as true and correct, excluding section 8.5.
I'll second that.
Deputy Hutt has already,
Oh, it's already jumped the gun.
that is seconded by Deputy.
Okay, if you just, right, excluding.
Moved by councillor Murray. Well, and it's just it's that part, and then what we can do is we can just, once you've had any, if you want to have further discussions on that agenda item, then we can bring back an extract and just bring it back to the meeting. And we just tack it in.
8.5 extract. Okay, so all those in favour, please say aye. Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. Right, now discretionary fund, we have like an art group. Thank you for your patience. Come on up.
Motueka art group. We're a group of about 35 people, all doing our own thing. We have an annual summer art exhibition, and we hold it at St Thomas Church because it's the best venue for the exhibition. So it gives us space to display our about 200 artworks. About 3 years ago, the cost was 1,200 for the period that we need to exhibit. Since then, the cost has been 2,700. We did get a grant from TDC. Then we put in a subsidy from club funds of 1,000. Potential income from sale of artwork is about 1,200. So that comes to a total income of 2,800. So if the room hire is 2,700, we also have delivery and setup of art stands of 100, advertising 300, printing 300, signage 200, which comes to 3,600. So we have a project shortfall of $800. We feel that this is a community event. It's creative artwork, which we feel the event benefits the whole Motueka community. It's also the time of year when we have a lot of tourists and they love to come to our exhibition, which is part of the event in the area. We like to encourage new members, which is very good for the community. We feel that the arts are very much a part of the community and a matter of well-being for everybody. So we love to have our exhibition, but obviously it's very demoralising if we're not going to make any money, because there's absolutely no point. We keep our costs to the main thing is just the rent of the hire of the venue at 2,700. We have tried to get that reduced, but haven't had any success.
We're in tricky times, aren't we? Because everyone's
Yes,
having to
yes.
carry extra costs. I have a question.
Well, it was really just to acknowledge the cost of everything has gone up.
Yes.
We understand that with other events, and art is so important to this area. So I'm happy to move that we approve the application.
Board Member Hughes, were there any other questions? Yes, Mr. Knowles.
I do have a question. How long is it on for?
9 days.
9 days.
Yeah. We used to have.
Okay, I can come to target.
$300 a day
Right.
to rent the venue. Councillor Joe.
Yeah, I'm just interested in the other venues that you looked at, like, I was actually in a conversation yesterday. One of the ladies at the Hui Rugby Club, and I just said, what would you charge for your club rooms if these people approached you? And she said, oh, we have a community community thing that we do up to about $200 a day. It's quite a bit cheaper, you know, so I just putting it out there that there are other options available.
Looked, we've had exhibitions in here, but unfortunately, this room is really not big enough for what we do. We've also been down at the Chanel Centre, but of course it's out of town and doesn't pick up the flow traffic that comes through sort of in the area where St Thomas Church is, where there's a lot of people coming by. Because we rely a lot on foot traffic.
Right on the main road. However, is actually quite a good option. I say that because it's summertime, because I was thinking also because you're a 9-day event, you need a space that you can leave everything up.
Yes.
Duration.
Yes.
That's all. Did you answer that? Okay, so moved and seconded. Everyone agreed to granting $700 to the Motueka Art Group, right? Anyone against? Okay, that's carried. So we will contribute to your. Thank you. And you'll see also under the discretionary funds, a report back from Big Brothers, Big Sisters, which was really nice to see. And we've got friends who don't have kids that actually contribute time to that organisation. So that's nice. Right. Good to see feedback. It is good to see that. I think so. I think we only had about 2 this year. So something that is really good. We are moving on to the board report, page 16. Okay, so we've got a few motions we need to move, but is there anything in particular first that anyone wants to discuss out of the board report? So otherwise we'll jump straight to 6 items from the board. This is actions that are coming out of that one. So it seems the first page of the board report
17.
or 18 is items from the board. So if there was nothing else on page 17 that anyone wanted to specifically. So are you happy to move to 6 items from the board? And we'll just go down the list from starting with 6.1, which is Councillor Dowland. And we do have the cost now. So we're on page 18, 6.1.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And over to Councillor Dowland.
Yeah, I just received a phone call actually, asking would I support bringing it to the board for the 2 flagpoles to be erected before Anzac Day next year. And it was all verbalised at that stage, and I said, well, we just don't go off verbal stuff. Something's got to be put on paper that sort of stacks up. So I then sent an email through to the chair indicating what was going on and indicated that there'd be a report coming through, which has happened obviously. And yeah, and I do think that it is possibly the bits that's missing out there to make it better.
Didn't even notice.
And yeah, no, I'd just like everybody's happy. I think it should move forward if that can work. And I put that into the same caliber as when I talked about the fleggy things on the power poles last year that was outside the.
Do you know where they will put them in memorial at Motueka? Like, Be interesting, because you know how we all gather out on the road? Will it be on the,
I don't know, I haven't spoken to Cole directly, so there obviously has to be a plan.
Yeah.
I thought that might have come with your correspondence,
all
actually.
we've got is staff have provided costing. So,
Right,
so for the board's knowledge, the staff estimate is, well, actually it's an actual quote now, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Apologies, Grant, would have been. This project.
Okay.
I went to site with Grant about a week ago. And we had a look at the site, taken some photos, and I've got some in the email which went to you, I think, and it which showed some locations. But yeah, two flagpoles on the one either side of the walkway going through, and really we can just locate them with whoever needs to be there to approve it. It's quite a simple process. 2 concrete pads, flagpoles sleeved.
so it'd be Kyle there, so it needs to be involved.
Yeah, and I'm pretty certain I'll probably be looking after this one for Grant, so I'll make sure that I touch base with who we need to.
And I'm happy to attend and be a bugger or whatever if I need to be.
Can you just confirm that that's the finished completed cost? Because in our report's gone from 5,000 and now it's, if I read that right, 675, yeah. And is that done, dusted, ready to be, they provide the flags?
Yes, yeah. So that's the concrete and the poles and putting it all in.
Look, I'm a history buff. I love this, and the importance of history leading us into the future is very important. I'm just trying to get my head around we're going to pay for all this, but as a PESEL project, but it's the community that are paying for it, and I think this is something the community should pay for, so it's got my backing.
We'll move with that at the end, yeah, because we've got a whole lot, but that's sounding promising. Thank you. Strange. Deputy Chair, 6.2. Oh, we've got.
Sorry, I've not done that.
Yeah.
Apologies. I did try and email them to Gavin, but it kept sending a link, and I've tried it before and it doesn't, you can't open it. So sorry for people on Zoom, but I can email them to you. I'll just pass them around. Contacted by a member of the community that was expressed a concern about the state of the weeds on the roadside and also on the footpaths. And so I did contact PDC, and the response was that they're cutting back on the weeding and the mowing because of budget constraints. And it's a nice to have rather than a need to have. So, but jumping in my car the other day, I literally just went around the block, and I was horrified to see the state of town, really. It's pretty low rent. So I guess, you know, we always get told, yes, we can have our streets weeded if we pay more rates. But to me, this is such a basic thing for our community, to have streets where there's no weeds and it's tidy and it's not blocking up the gutters and the drains. That's quite a basic need. So that's why I just brought it to your attention, because some of those streets, as you can see, are pretty diabolical.
Yeah. You know, me being an avid council supporter of most things, I'm gonna say I sort of agree with the council stance here. If we're gonna lower services, this is something that could get lowered. But if the community had a better relationship with the council, perhaps people would be a little bit more happy to pop out there on the burn and that sort of thing and do a little bit of spraying, because hopefully they've got that inside the fence. You know what I mean? A bit of, give a little bit. And that might alleviate the problem a great deal. And then all we've got is a few, because there must be many people who are just not capable of doing that or don't agree with chemicals and that sort of thing. But it's a difficult one, you know. It really is. I'm seeing this too, and it's not a good look. In Nelson, it's not a good look. When you went through the bypass and you saw everything growing up, it's a sign of the times. And maybe this is a sort of thing where the community need to get together and say, hey, let's all do something about this. This, instead of going, council, why aren't you doing it? Let's take a little bit of ownership ourselves and try and do something. But I do acknowledge, yes, it's horrible.
So just, so through the chair, two things. One, I absolutely, think if we could all have a working day and get it all done, but then what happens when it's all back again? It sets precedents that we're constantly going out there and cleaning the road. And the second thing is, most of it is actually on the road. It's not on the footpath. So then we get down to traffic management, safety. We can't have residents willy-nilly going on the road and weeding. We already know that there's STMS and road safety involved. So that's another point that if we've got road safety on one point, but then it's okay for us to go weeding the roads, which can we or can't we?
Well, I have been risking that myself. I have been standing on the road on the corner where people fly in round with my weed eater, and goodness knows what would happen if I didn't. Perhaps I need some road cones. I haven't got any orange cones. But
One's best on, mate, look like one.
Sorry, through the chair, but I guess what I'm saying is this is, to me, it's quite a basic service. And if we don't think it's important enough to do that, what else is going to slide? And I guess I've already been given the answer. You're not going to get it because there's no budget, but I feel the frustration and the state of the community is looking really tardy.
perhaps we could ask what we are saving here. That might help. Hey, look, we're saving X amount of dollars by asking the community to do a bit more. Maybe that would help. So we see a bit of an incentive there. But
so there is a request here for, do you still want that as an action policy regarding maintenance?
Do have a question. I wasn't able to have a question.
So, councillor Dowling, councillor.
Just a question regarding the weeds growing through. Yep, overgrown, poorly mowed grass edges. Yep, rubbish. Has the rubbish got worse since we've stopped the litter cut?
I'm not sure how rubbish got on there, actually. I was talking about weeds, things, yeah. I'm not.
Well, that answered that question, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
To answer your question, no, the rubbish, I don't.
it's probably the
think
difference
it's
between being a townie and a rural person. I've been a rural person all my life here, and I get out every weekend and do the road berm and weed eat the side of the road, do everything I need to do, and I don't have road cones and everything. Admittedly, it's a quiet road, but I get on my ride on and I mow the berm, and I've got half the ride on out in the road, doing everything I do, and there's a car park area, I mow all that. Yeah, so it's just, you just get on with it. Those photos are pretty cool photos, but I reckon I could probably do that street in half an hour with a hoe just going along and nipping nibble, just leave them in the gutter so that they wash down and block our drain, because it's no different than people blowing the leaves out of their property with their fancy blowers during the autumn season, and then it all blocks up, which really annoys me as well. But anyway, I'm just saying that, I think the proactiveness is going out of the community.
Yeah.
to do that sort of stuff. We're losing another piece of Kiwi out of New Zealand.
Councillor Madu.
Might be a question for Mr. Kirby. So is this level of service through the whole district, not just Motueka?
Yeah.
Yes, or pretty much? Yeah.
You were aware,
Yes.
the October meeting, we took all the budgets out of footpath maintenance, renewals and everything.
Yep.
Yep.
So why are we building new ones still? We can't maintain the ones we've got. Rhetorical question.
Oh,
You
well,
said
you've
we
just
built some
approved one
new
up at,
ones.
Upper Moottree, you're
We
right.
have. But we won't be able to maintain it.
There's certain
Yeah,
things,
community
there's
would.
certain things that I would say that government's a bit inconsistent in their decision making based on community pressure.
That's right, that staff going, please, please, please.
Chair, so what message are we giving back to the community on this? Because I hear we don't have the money. I hear that in October that was a decision made, but what I haven't heard is how did we message that to our community so that Deputy Chair doesn't continue to get flack from whoever it is that sends you a pretty yellow daisy, whatever they are, flower, weed pictures.
I guess that's our question back for Mr. Kirby. You know,
Well, yeah, can I say, this is just the first start of a whole lot of level service cuts that the council are going to be considering in February, and there's a whole lot of consultation going out on that too, so, yeah.
Perhaps may I suggest a bit more communication from the council and involve people in it. Bit more.
Yeah, I'd have to check on that, but I think communication did go out on the footpath one after the October meeting. It's just when people see it, they don't comprehend it until they see the issue, and then they've kind of completely forgotten the communication. So, yeah, so it is a challenge sometimes.
did you know, Mr. Hughes? I was just saying, I didn't know, Deputy didn't know. Did you know about the decision
Know about the decision?
in October having services?
No, no, but
Only conversation afterwards.
I'll just go back about 10 years ago when we used to mow the side of the road. And we used to do two mows down every road, right through the whole district. And we decided that it was just getting out of hand with the costs because everything was going up so much. So we did it through the annual plan, did it through submission, consultation, submissions, etc. And we dropped it back to one mower width. And I think out of the whole district, we got about 5 submissions to say that 3 wanted the mowing to keep going at 2 cuts, and the other 2 just didn't know, go for it, get on with it, we'll look after it. So we cut it. And I think it saved about, back in those days, about $180,000 a year in mowing costs. So we don't take, council doesn't take things lightly, you know, like it's
So, sorry, through the chair, just looking at the budget, I'm more than happy to put it out there to the community and, you know, organise working days and things like that, but there will be,
oh yeah, I know.
there will be
pushback.
backlash as to why we're doing it when people pay the rates, but
I suppose they want to look at, we throw another % on the rates next year and go for it, don't we?
You could do that.
So just through the chair, I think Deputy Chair's request is fair.
Yeah.
What is the current level of service that you can expect? I think it's a fair question to ask for clarity. Because that'll be the October meeting outcome.
Yeah.
Fair question. Yeah.
in the same breath, if we are looking at certain service cuts for services, perhaps we need to look at justifications for other departments within council. I know of a certain department in council which I'm sure we should make some cutbacks in staffing levels, or at least address it. I'd like to see some justification for the enforcement division and seeing what the cost of having that division is, as opposed to not having it.
Okay, so I'm pulling out from this a couple of actions. One is council's policy regarding the maintenance requirements. One is the review of the service cuts, so the board get a better idea of reasons why and what cost savings there are in that. And then the other one is communications to community. So we've got a bit of a understanding of what's gone out, what's going out. And then, you know, I think Councillor Dowler made a really fair point, and this is something that we've discussed in the past around, once upon a time, you just got on and did things. And society's changed so much that it's like, well, that's not my problem. I pay for that or whatever. And so it is probably trying to build some encouragement back in the community to take some ownership and empowerment around, hey, let's make our place look how we would like it to look, nice and tidy and clean.
Through you, Madam Chair, if you recall a couple of months ago, we had a whole discussion about mowing of burns and council coming back
Yes.
with mowing burns, and vaguely remember it was something like $60,000-80,000 saving if we didn't do it. Maybe in this situation here, so we ask people to weed the frontages of their footpaths in front of their houses. Yep, same thing.
One more question, Madam Chair, if
Yeah.
that's okay. So the berm essentially council property, and so there'll be some stipulations. So can I just round up spray on the berm and that drainway, or am I going to get a visit from compliance?
Pass, I don't know that one.
Well, just in the messaging, you need to be very, very careful.
It's not only that, it's that
I
my neighbours
probably
may not
would
want
round
to
up.
spraying with Roundup either, so.
Yeah, no, I don't like. Yes.
Well, we could answer that. If there was no compliance division, then there would be no one coming round to tell you how to clean your, and I think the cost of sending a compliance chap round to see what you're doing with your burn, he could have brought round the spray or a little weed eater and done it while he's standing there in a high-vis jacket, perhaps.
Okay, so we've got a few actions out of there.
Right.
Moving down, so did you want to talk about the, you're okay with it, so we're skipping 6.3, that's sorted. 6.4, board member Hughes.
Yes, last month, I could not believe it when I heard those two presentations, which appear to be completely contradictory to each other. Here we have the council spending, now, correct me if I'm wrong, are consultants involved here with the?
Yes.
Yes. And does anyone know how much we've spent so far on consultants? I can see another cost-cutting exercise here. I've seen the consultants with the issues over the down Old Wolf Road, the land behind there. And they'd spent $11,000, it would appear. And all we've got basically is not much more than we had in the beginning. I think there was an add-on to a presentation. So, but anyway, getting back to the port. As I said, how can we have expansion development of the port if we can't get boats in and out easily? It's just an absolute no-brainer. And to hear the excuses that, oh, well, it's another department. Well, what department? No one seemed to know anything. The fact is the port users group were formed with the specific intention of reinstating, fixing up, doing whatever to that seawall and getting rid of some of the sand that's blocked up the channel. That's what it's there for. So we have to, and we did ask, didn't we?
Number 4 under the recommendations.
Yes, we did have recommendations. Now, I did see how quickly another department over the name change swooped into action there. So I take it we've got a reply with that about asking to have the channel included in the structure plan.
No, I'm not aware of any response, but
We haven't had a reply.
we'll be putting it forward as a motion.
I thought we did that last month.
Oh, right, yeah, as an action.
We were asking.
You're looking at me, I wasn't here last month.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No, sorry. I'm sorry, Richard, you seem to be all knowing as usual. And
Kind of second guessing after stuff.
No.
Hold on, board member Hughes, councillor.
Yep.
So my understanding, and I'm sure Councillor Walker and Councillor Dowler heard the same thing, is that the draft scope of this project is coming back to this board.
Yes.
Because it was asked at that port user group meeting.
Yeah.
And the funding for this project would have been approved by this board. Might have been before. I thought it came out of the harbour. Okay.
sorry, funding for what?
It would have been before us.
I don't know where it's coming from. I don't think it's coming from any of the.
Yeah, but the scope was coming back to the community board and council. from the initial
Oh, are
consultation.
you talking about the up to 30,000 that we had set aside to do?
No, that was the other one.
That's another, that's the estuary one, right?
But yeah, that was the guarantee at the meeting with Tony and Stephanie, that it was coming back at a draft stage for scope, and it was scope.
So was that recorded in the minutes? Do you know?
Because I have to agree with you, it seems really silly. Spend a lot of money if you can't get it out the board.
Seems really silly. I'm sorry, this is the silliest thing since I've seen since the last silly thing, which probably wasn't that long ago.
There's another way of getting a vote in.
I'm sorry, my patience is run out with this, Mr. Kirby. I mean, as you can imagine, you can imagine, we are discussing a serious piece of infrastructure here, something that is going to benefit the Motueka community at no real cost, I can imagine, to the council. That this is where we can develop. We only need to look at Whitianga waterways, over at Picton and that sort of thing, Waikawa. You know, there is massive opportunity for development here. And then we are employing consultants who can't even seem to understand. From this, one can only come up with the fact they don't know what they're doing. Somebody doesn't know what they're doing, surely.
Through you, Madam Chair, was the question asked of the consultants here at the last meeting?
Well, I don't know. We were taught that we had some experts providing us with stuff and they couldn't answer questions.
Well, I wasn't here and I don't know
Yeah.
the background to it. You raised these issues now and you should have raised them at the time.
I raised them at the time.
Okay, all right, fine.
Have a look through at 35 minutes in. It's good reading. But why should it have to come to the fact of Mr. Hughes speaking out and no doubt going, oh, here's Mr. Hughes again, causing us trouble, when it's absolutely logic. It's just logic. You waste of time spending any money at all. Waste of time. Might as well just let it fill up, move tallies and say, sorry, we're not.
Context what you're talking about, because it's not a waste of time. We just don't waste time. You obviously don't fully understand the issues that have to be dealt with here.
Okay.
When you look at plan changes, there's a whole lot of RMA issues that have to be covered off. We can't just go and do things in the marine environment without going through proper processes.
Yes, I understand that. But this should have been sorted out a long time ago. Not, oh, well, we're doing this. Oh, Mr. Hughes has pointed out at all. Well, we've got all those problems with that. This sort of stuff should have been sorted out decades ago.
I can't answer you because I'm not sure the context.
Yeah, I know.
So really, yeah. Board review was right in terms of at that port users meeting, the channel was out of scope because we were scratching going, oh my goodness. So it's about the land-based activities to existing water, but actually the channel's the key part of the water activity.
I have a feeling channel, it's part of the port operation and not the council. I need to clarify that, but I believe that's the case.
Yeah, and through the chair, so apparently council applied for the consent at Tarakoe and one other place, but not Port Motueka. It's expected a collective of the users would do that. Because I asked, why is that?
I think that's correct.
And I don't know why that is.
Oh, because the port is the port users are got a lease to utilise the place and they run it, whereas Port Tarakoe council runs it. So council does the application, whereas the port users out there need to do the application because they are the ones that are running it.
But if the leases fall over, does it resort to council?
It would do, correct. But under the lease,
that's the grey area.
I'll have to look at it, but I have a feeling under the lease, the port company, the port organisation has to maintain the channel as well.
So through the chair, so yeah, this is all great and wonderful, but you've got another part of council that's going to deem a moving sandbar an area of, correct me if you're wrong, an area of outstanding natural beauty or something along those lines, and protect it. Is that correct?
It is.
Well, it is great.
It's
I've
on
already
that
seen, I
bit.
saw it last time. And
You know the legal case of what happened on Jacket Island 15 years ago or whatever it
yeah,
is?
but this will improve that. If you built that wall out, it would actually protect Jacket Island.
It makes sense, Nick, but unfortunately, the
Yeah.
decision was made 15 years ago about that area. You can't just go and do what you want to do.
Well, it's not what I want to do, Richard. Okay, I'm just advocating for people. But
Sorry, are you talking about the training wall again, Nick?
yeah,
Yeah, okay, so that was explained at the meeting that there was a the consent was given and applied for by the user group that they formed. A resource consent was got, which Tanya can't find. It's gone. They got halfway through the reconstruction and it was stopped. Someone complained and it was found that 2 items that were being used didn't comply with the resource consent, which was to do with the bolts that were holding the pieces of board on. I don't know exactly the detail, but that's what I was told because I asked the question back in the day why it had stopped. And it was parked and the resource consent lapsed. It's never been finished. So hopefully Tony is going to go away and find that resource consent, or someone in council needs a kick because these guys paid money to get that consent to rebuild that wall. So hopefully she's following up on that. And there's also the dredging of the channel, not down by Tallies or down in the sandbar, but across the front where they go around to the marinas. There is supposedly a minimum depth at low tide the channel is supposed to be maintained to. The harbour master has fished 4 boats that have beached on the build-ups that are happening in there. So Brett and I went and saw Kim Drummond and had a yarn with him, and Kim had a hunt round and all the consents have expired. So it sounds like this group again is going to have to get another resource consent to effectively suck the stuff out with the sand dredge and deepen it down to what's required. I have an issue with that because it's a maintenance thing that's supposed to happen to stop boats beaching, which is a safety issue, and you've got to have a bloody consent for it, for God's sake. But anyway, that's my opinion. I think it should just be a matter of course where they're just allowed to carry on and do it.
Much about digging it out is where they take the material afterwards.
Right, so yeah, I know what you're saying. So yeah, but anyway, so that's going to be another action that's happening as soon as Mr. Eccles comes up with a.
Just a suggestion, perhaps we could move that mud, because that's what it is. It's mud and gravel built up. We could perhaps just move it to another part of the estuary.
Well, they actually wanted to put it out by the Lone Pine Tree Island there because there's a heap of spoonbills that are coming in and nesting on that site. They've got so big now that the land area isn't big enough for them.
Let's
But
help the spoonbills.
that creates a problem, unfortunately, with iwi because it's deemed to be a reclamation. So it's sort of the handbrake's going on that one, and so where the material will go to after they suck it up with the sand dredge, you just pump it straight over and put it there. Just as easy as that. But anyway, that's the thing that has to happen through the consent process. But yeah, no, it's annoying to me that the sandbar itself is dock, not us. So anything that has to happen, sandbar.
Right through there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll circle back to that when we move the report. Financials. Can't even read my one Wednesday. Oh no, that's all right. We'll do that in the financials, I think. And I have emailed you all about 6.7, so we can talk about that later. That's okay. That's just about if you want to do that visit to Motueka Riding for Disabled. Now, let's discuss public forum. Open that up to the board. What actions we're going to pull out of that. Pavey. So I don't know if there's anyone else has anything to add to that, but we will be looping Nikki and Marguerite in our next working group discussion. You made some really valid points, Councillor Walker, and that's something that's been around this table, but we do want to actually see some action. Pauline Church. So we've got that. And I'm assuming we just sort of talked to Roads and Reserves about. I'm guessing it's just about comms.
This is a lady that had quite a few concerns over, like, she's lived in a certain part of that development for many years. I think she's been moved sideways a bit. I think some of those dwellings are perhaps not suitable to be dwellings, and I'm wondering if she's been caught up in that and had to move somewhere she's quite happy with. And now I think they're doing other things. I'm a bit unsure of what's
Yeah.
going on there. I feel for her.
No, Councillor Walker.
Through you, Chair, my understanding is she's had some dialogue with Rob O'Grady. Birthed out of our shared pathway to eco-transport choices and the choices that she didn't have. And it, by the way, it's not our land that she
Yes.
occupies.
Okay, so.
And I think when she comes that we probably need to have somebody mentor and support her through what she is going to present. Because when you speak to her outside, her message is very different from when she comes in, and then the pressure of being in this room. And she often does not deliver what she potentially was coming to deliver on.
Yes, because I thought we were speaking specifically about Park Street. So, yeah.
So if she puts her name forward to speak again, I would be suggesting that someone from the community board do a one-on-one with her prior to, so we get an understanding what she actually is intending to come and speak on. Mindful that we don't all operate from the same level of capacity
Yeah,
and wellness.
good point. Like. Yes.
Thing to be
yes.
speaking.
Okay, so we've got, I'm just jotting down some actions that we captured. Okay, so, Mr. Hellier had a request to find his piece of paper. Yeah,
I do recall that arriving when Janine Dowding was CE.
okay,
And local government New Zealand, where all the chief executives that got around the country, basically was kind of discounted that the accusations made in that paper about councils being illegal in terms of rating powers act is actually not correct.
so we can put forward an action to see a copy.
I just received the information. Just thank you for it. Yeah, I wouldn't exacerbate by going back to him and outlining what's wrong, what's right with the document. Just say you've received it. Yeah.
I think he asked to have it publicly available.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
right? He's not asking us to pass judgment.
That's
or anything.
fine.
He's asking that it was made available in the library and things like that. So people can make their own minds up about what's
The only
right
thing
or
I'd
wrong.
caution against that is that it's not a document, it's not a council document. Some might view it as that if it's in the council library, so to be quite clear where the document originated. Yeah.
Okay, so what team would that action go to? CE's office,
Governance.
maybe. It's just an action that the can a copy of the document be available for public? And the suggestion was library and service centre.
Well, I suggest Mr. Healy keeps those documents and ask the librarians to on the shelves or something, because I'm sure that we want to, somebody else wanted something, but they can't come to us and ask us for it. Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, I mean, we could make it, if he is prepared to hand over the document that he's talking about, we can attach it to to the minutes, the speaking slot, and it's there, but if I'm aware of the document that he is referring to, it did raise there were a lot of legal issues around some of the comments made, and I know that my own CE, my former council, as a region, actually, the regional CEs actually had to go and deal with it because there was a lot of stuff in it, if it is the right document, that was constitutionally incorrect.
When
Okay,
you
so
read it, it's scary. Every
the-
council should be taken to court, and it's actually not going to happen because it's not correct.
Well, and costly
Well, it would be interesting to see the
document.
the document back, because it'd be interesting to see this claim and then the government has said, well, this is incorrect because A, B, C, and D. It'd be interesting to see all of that. I mean,
I
than to simply go, oh, it's wrong.
I
Yeah.
don't think there's a formal response per se to that document.
But similar to the one that all councils have been served, that one of the penalties potentially a death penalty. Then it's worse the paper that it's written on to stay wherever it is. And I don't know if that's the case with that one.
Oh,
But certainly I think I've had 3 in my term.
What is it?
Well, no, just if you don't adhere, cease and stop and obey this, you could be penalised by the death penalty.
hey, look, it was not that long ago, you were allowed to beat your wife with a.
You were never allowed to do that.
But I think, I don't know when that was, I remember reading about that. No,
Move on.
long before us, but it shows you some laws hang
Councillor
around
Dowler.
longer than they should.
I'd be disappointed if the council went hunting for the document and had to go and spend hours fishing it out, doing it all. I think if he wants to put it on the table, he presents it. When I bought the history of the Motueka Airport with this library, it's the group that did the history on the Motueka Airport that put it together in a bound book, and we brought it along and says, here we are. If you want to put it on the shelf, that's good. If you don't, you'll have a bin somewhere. So yeah, I think that falls into the same scenario. Why should we have to do the dirty work of, not dirty work, it's dirty.
Yeah.
Why should we have to go through the motions of fishing it out, copying it all, binding it? He wants it. He doesn't.
I
Yeah,
think it
cool.
was more around the
It's more-
transparency, wasn't it? But if he does have that document, yeah, we can put that forward to Mr. Hellier, so that's an action. To request Mr. Hellier, if he wishes to provide a copy of the document, to
Because he wants one at the library
to
and
the
one at the
library
service centre.
service centre.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr.
Mr. Griffiths. Okay, so we are, oh, here we go. Yep, so he will send us more of a formal outline with some of those questions. We've jotted some down here, but it'd be nice to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the feeling I got through from Mr. Griffith's presentation was one of polite and muffled frustration. And I think his sense of frustration is echoed by many whom come to deal with our council, asking questions and this sort of thing. It's a different subject, but obviously the same people involved. People unable to answer questions, people hiding behind no authors. We're seeing it with the tiny homes as well. Oh, I'm in trouble again. And also the partnership issue with iwi. Obviously, I fully understand the cultural significance and having to contact them because we have no idea. But it looks like these people have been trying to do everything they've been expected to. Look, if people don't reply back to emails, I call it silence is support. But yeah, I'm torn between hearing opponents and proponents of this, but that's separate to all this. I feel this group has put an excellent case forward, and I think they deserve a bit more respect to their case than what looks to be happening at the moment. I certainly hope the council ups their game in terms of communication and helping this get to a point where people are not just throwing money away with no end in sight. That's my take on it.
Yeah, one of the red lines in the report Mr. Griffiths gave today says lack of public or active cycling / walking servicing the site. In my world, when we went out there that day, the Great Taste Trail goes down one of the boundaries. So I don't think that comment from whoever put it there is quite correct. And obviously, the discussions that we had that day was that there would be other, the design that would help this walking and cycling thing. So, yeah, but wary about that line. Unfortunately, the rural one land is still a government situation until the RMA Act gets repealed after Christmas, hopefully, if they do change it. Sorry.
Christmas.
Yeah. Well, they've got to do it soon because there's another election coming up. So if they don't get their skates on, they'll won't get it through. So you know, so there's that part of it which could change for the good of the group. And regarding the iwi stuff, it's always been a concern to me, but when we had the expansion of the wastewater ponds down by the Mott River, and they voiced their concerns about what we were trying to do down there, and then we found bodies during the excavation testing, proved that they were actually quite right. And when we had to do the further investigation, it was actually worse for us, but better for them because it was more than what they thought. And I do know that through the Kina Bluffs, I suppose, through that area there are a lot of archaeological sites that the iwi know about, but they won't disclose because the treasure hunters will be in there like a shop for their greenstone answers and all that stuff that they know are there. They haven't disturbed them and left them and covered them all up again. So that's a tricky one. And I have total feeling for the group that they're not getting the answers that they want. But there is some method in the iwi madness why they don't disclose at all. That's for sure. I hope that they can actually get the answers from the iwi to outline where they reckon the areas are, and then when the RMA changes, etc., we might get some progress regarding the wastewater. Well, that's a living document. When we can supply the wastewater, it will help their situation. Sad, but that's the fact.
Yeah, good points. Okay, and Mr. Fury. There's a couple of actions out of there. One, he'd like the library and service centre to display the leaders of that of the website, and he would like signs. No dogs and no jumping down at the salt paths. Board Member Hughes.
Right. Just on the solar power side of things, I saw on those slides, they're TDC slides, I take it, of course. They're not ones done by him. I was just confused there. 13 homes are being powered.
No. Sorry, they're by the company that are reproduced on the TDC website. So they're linked to the solar.
Somewhere in so the power from this place is powering this place and 13 more homes.
Yeah.
Was creating that much.
Wow, that's impressive.
It could power 80 homes, but power from here, from the solar panels, goes back to the grid.
Oh, it's not powering 13 homes.
No,
It's enough power.
It's powering 13 homes.
it could power 30 homes, but it goes back into the grid.
I thought this is a great initiative for the community. There's some poor people that are getting, no, all good, but so we're getting a discount then?
Yeah.
Brilliant, all good, well done.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but there is a discount.
Forget about the poor people, what was I thinking?
Okay, good idea though.
Usually their rates, how's that?
Does it,
Well, reduces the costs of running the operation.
of this building, yes. Okay, any more on public one? Okay, I'm just wondering if we do need to just circle back up to.
So, just a quick point,
Yes.
is can we have an action list to review about that signage down at the saltwater baths?
Yes, you got those two actions from Mr. Furies? The promotion.
What's
and the signs.
What's the maximum amount of people allowed to stay per night at
So what
the
about,
Saltwood Baths?
there must be a sign down there saying.
There must be a sign. You can't just, no, they
overflow,
must have
overflow.
an amount because they said that there's a bit of concern coming back about we've already had someone speak at public forum quite a while ago, talking about 30 odd people. Well, I've been down there and 32 camper vans. And yeah, there's a lot of people. So is there an amount there? So while we put signs up, maybe.
So you want an action?
Just through the chair, it used to be designated parks and Councillor Cantor went down there one week and put in bollards to designate parks. Yeah, it's physical. But you can do, well, board member Hughes has realised that you can probably double park in the driveway, except if
Filling up the car park as well.
Issue for a long time.
Okay, so you want an action?
Well, just,
Start.
I was just wondering how many people can stay
Clarify.
there, you know?
just to
What
clarify,
the-
did you want enforcement, Mr. Chair?
Ching, ching, ching. Wait
Well,
for it, wait
if,
for it.
if,
Because that seems ironic.
well, actually, if they
Clarification.
are living in their vehicles, you can't have one without the other, perhaps.
So just, so through the chair, remembering that the Freedom Camping Act excludes homelessness.
Yes,
So if a person is homeless in their vehicle, they're excluded from the provisions of the act.
which could be a
My
lot.
understanding. But there will be people in self-contained that are also staying more than the designated maximum nights, I suspect. But there's only one way to change that, and that's to enforce.
Okay, so when we tell somebody to move their tiny home off land, they can just take it down there and say, well, I'm homeless. Look, there we go. I've just been kicked out. There's my paperwork.
I think
I'm
it's
happy
not
to live here.
self-contained, isn't it?
There could be a way around it. That's a way around it.
Because
Right.
Another piece of.
It is
well done,
great.
Brett.
Because technically you are. Okay, so the action coming out of that is clarify the restrictions on how many.
How many people
How many-
can stay at the site down there? That's what we want to know. They've got to have a number.
People or number of vehicles?
Vehicles.
How many
It's
vehicles?
easy here, there's designated.
One. Okay, here we go.
Because so through the chair, because the vehicle is now certified to the maximum number of people. So it'll be on how many parks, and then the vehicle will say how many, and they don't often meet either.
All right, let's move on because feeling like a beer.
Okay, so that concludes public forum. The actions list. Page 20. Okay, so bins are wrapped. Well done.
Have you seen it?
Yes, seen it on uploads.
Oh, may the bins stay there now. I've got them wrapped. Listening?
That is
Moving community bins, they cannot be those ones first, please. Thank
for
you.
it all.
I don't know what you're talking
4 years in the making.
My goodness, wouldn't that just,
New school year next year, they'll never miss them.
Don't worry, we'll put them in storage so we can put them back out later.
To be fair, through the chair, my daughter was on the youth council at school when this project started.
oh,
you.
wow,
Mother.
jeepers.
2 years ago.
I remember being on the post on the front cover with Grant Henny from the start of the project. Many years ago.
And here we are. It's
Thank you. So
done.
it's a wrap so they can come off the list now.
Three kids, I think. Well, yeah.
Just the actions list. Okay, the next action is draft, we've received the draft, standing orders from LGNZ. So we will workshop in the new year. So that's the update.
Not on a day where councillors are
Yes,
involved in other meetings,
we'll,
please.
we'll organise it.
And sorry, through the chair, we'll be doing a review, a staff review. Early January while it's a bit quieter, and then we'll be putting a paper with recommendations up to council. Either February or March, and then so we recommend that flow on from what council has agreed, and then you can kind of work within the framework that council has said, agreed on.
Okay, so that, what you just said. Action update there and then also short around the next action 3. That's wrong, but the November update was quite a plane due by Christmas. Oh, great. So then we'll.
Or the other day.
Oh, great. So then we might have our December update once he gets a response. Number 4. So this is around the court case information. So that's still standing. I don't know if anyone's heard anything. Number 5, that can be removed because we've had the meeting. The next phase is requesting release of reserves. Number 6 is the status of the Motueka master plan. And the request is to include restoration of the sand spit in the MMP to ensure access and future proof, yeah? Status of the Motueka master plan.
They're 2 different things.
That's actually, no, that's a different, sorry, it's the structure plan that I was talking about, not the master.
Oh, you were about the what, sorry?
Sorry, that's different. The master
Okay.
plan is different.
So have we got an update? It just says process starts 2025 timeframes and details confirmed as matters progressed. Just leave us standing.
Yep.
Okay. And Kevin, did you find any like the other actions from November?
So the one about the trees. That's I compared them both, and that's the only one that's the others you struck off.
Okay, so we had no new actions coming out of our November meeting. Okay. Now, do we want to? Can we just? I've got their 6.6 board financials. We'll discuss that in financials. Is that okay? Just so we can move this report.
Yep.
Okay. So if we look at page 16, which is the cover of the board report. So I need someone to move and second that we receive the board report. Now, number 2, I think, Mr. Kubi, you wanted to advise on that. So this was this came out of our workshop where the board requested a triage service requests, complaints regarding minor dwellings and freeze enforcement actions and clarity with national policy.
Advice that I received from Kim Drummond was that this is outside your jurisdiction. So you can't actually, I mean, you can recommend to council, but you're not the ones that can actually do it.
Excellent, excellent. Yes.
So we can put it forward to council. Like,
I think we need to, that we've been banging our heads against a brick wall long enough. I think it's time we took stronger action here. Okay. There is clear issues over the legislation they're using. This workshop we attended, I'm going to challenge that. I don't believe it was a workshop. I've read the status from the Tasman District Council of what a workshop is, and this wasn't. We were not allowed, the chair would not allow me to share my ideas. That's what a workshop is for, to be able to share ideas. We got told, oh, you can just ask a question. So I did ask a question, and the chair advised staff don't have to answer the question. This is the same reason this has been going on right through the workshop process, where certain people have not been allowed to offer an input. And whilst some members have been allowed, so I have absolutely no faith in any outcomes from these workshops. So I think we need to get together as a community board and decide on what action we are going to take. the whole basis of, and I've sent you all some details here. I had asked the question of fixed land, the whole basis of the legislation. No one is answering questions. Okay. We need to have those questions answered. I don't know if the board is prepared to go to the Ombudsman. I've got other things with the Ombudsman and I haven't heard back, but they're busy. I think the Ombudsman is just, and as they've told me, they're a toothless tiger. So I'm hoping that the board will seek some input from somewhere else, because there's too many people now, and this comment now to keep out of their business. We've been told this before, but I'm sorry if our community is shouting out that we are hurting over needing a place to live, then we need to take action now.
I said, I was at that same workshop and the chair explicitly asked you if you wanted to speak, and you said the community board chair is going to represent the views of the community board. So it's pretty unfair in a public forum when you can't interfere in a private workshop. He specifically asked, I've heard it, and you said, I know I'm going to wait.
No.
Board chair's
He was talking about the presentation. They thought I was going to do the presentation. And
Yes,
Serena did the
so that's
presentation.
the danger and part of this thing. So I disagree with your question. But that's the hard part, isn't it? Is that the workshops are closed. So your commentary is the only commentary currently on the public record, which is a little bit unfair.
I'm just stating
Because I thought it was quite a good discussion. Was there any tangible outcomes? Not really, but that's the nature of the workshop, because there's not a decision-making process. So
pretty clear, sorry. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it was pretty clear when I went to talk. But anyway, we'll leave that as it is. But what we've come away from that workshop is still some bland questions which are not really taking care of the issue. The issues is the legislation behind it. We have a way to solve this problem, but we've got one group of people going, no, we're not going to discuss it. No. And well.
Do you want to put forward? So point number 2, which has come out of that, which
I think we can start by demanding that the question that people are either don't know what I'm talking about, or the same question given by you, no, we're not going to release the information, needs to be released. And if they're not going to, we want to know why it's not being released. Just claiming legal, what is it? Legal privilege. Legal privilege. The question was for me. It was to be answered for me. I've just given the email which shows it. So there is your basis to release it to me. Don't release it to the others. I'll do that. But
that is why it's not being released to you.
But what do you got to hide?
No.
What has Tasman District Council got to hide?
For you, Madam Chair, that's released to you has to be released to all the committee board members.
Yeah, good. Do it.
Councillor Mutter's got a point.
So I don't disagree with Member Hughes. There was a statement made to him, and there was something else to come, and he's just simply asked for it. And I think that's the frustration between our depth of Lagoima, is it's so much work to try and make sure stuff's so safe for public distribution that we're just locked up, and it doesn't help when you have lots of Lagoima requests, whoever those people may be. But I actually share the frustration of how hard it is to answer simple questions. On the basis they are simple questions and not fish hooks, because in some cases I think they are. It's a little bit to get the next bit to go,
Yeah. Hold on, I've got Councillor Dowler.
Sorry.
Come to you.
I was going to vote against it because of the wording in number 2. I do not accept the words that recommends that the Tasman District Council triage service request complaints regarding minor dwellings, express enforcement actions until clarity with the national policy statement. If I go past one and I see someone discharging wastewater onto the ground and lay a complaint, there's no way in the world I want that put on hold.
I'm going to, sorry, this is indicative of what I am talking about. I quite agree with you, Barry, quite agree. if I'm shoveling shit into my next door neighbour's property, yes, do something about it. It's a health and safety act. But someone just living longer than 8 weeks in a caravan, as long as they are abiding by the rules, the daylight angles, the firefighting issues, if their grey water and their toilet situation is acceptable, what is the problem? And this always comes up. It's never about someone living somewhere for longer than 8 weeks. It's suddenly noise, or even, well, I've heard last time it's gun-toting.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
if you read that as it is, it covers everything in enforcement. You're referring to the 8-week rule. You think that only refers to the 8-week rule. It's not. If you look at it, it talks about freezing enforcement actions on everything to do with minor dwellings. And so what Councillor Dowler is saying is absolutely correct. What that is actually saying is if someone's discharging, well, we've got to freeze it. We're not going to do any enforcement because that's a minor dwelling.
See, yeah.
Okay, so maybe a reword?
So the key thing is what you think is being said here is not being said, can be interpreted otherwise. And hence, this is the problem we have with the TRMP, is getting the definitions absolutely clear and the interpretation absolutely clear on each of the rules within it.
Okay.
And very difficult thing.
So through the chair, thank you for that. But I have provided clear evidence of the uncertainty and the confusion which is actually accepted by the Tasman District Council. You know very well what I'm talking about. 2 submissions to the government asking for help or clarification or asking for tiny homes to be included. Yet with that confusion going on, the Tasman District Council are not only actively, they are increasing their actions against these people. Tell me I'm wrong, Mr. Kirby.
I don't know. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, I can.
I'm not, it's not in my area. I'm
Oh,
not sure what's
it's
going
cool.
on.
It's
You
not.
got your word
Board
on.
Member Hughes, should we look at,
I'm sorry, my
Really?
patience has run out over
Okay,
this.
but
I just keep getting the same.
but granted it is a different department, but
Oh,
do
it's
you
all-
want to look at the rewording? But that.
Yes,
if-
yes, we'll
If we
reword it.
include the environmental,
Can I just can I ask, that question is a valid question. If the Tasman District Council have documented evidence to show that they don't understand themselves, including refusing to answer my questions, why are they continuing to actively go against people when that's what this is in the end asking? Can we not wait until it's sorted one way or the other? I know the wording's a little bit wrong. Well, we apologise. We're not policy writers, but you get the idea. It's just too many people out there hurting now.
Problem that I see with that is you've got something in the TRMP. If we turn a blind eye to that, we're going to have someone challenge us at the other end. But listen, your TRMP says, how come you're not doing something about it? And we do get that as well. So,
And I understand that, but what is the effect on the environment? It's all well going, you're breaking a rule. No one ever explains the complaint. You keep the complaints hidden. You keep I mean, most of the time it's out now, but over the last few years, no one has any idea about it. Have you seen where it's hidden in amongst the TRMP, this little definition of a vehicle versus a building? You'll have to be a.
I thought it was quite clear what the RMA defined and what the Building Act defined. That was what was told to you at the workshop.
I'm talking in hindsight over the years by the public, you know? This is a discrete piece of legislation.
We're not going to resolve it here.
No, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. We're not going to resolve it here. So it's time for action. We have to go to the central government or our MP
okay,
because we're not getting any
I'm
help.
just going to hold for 2 minutes. I need to run to the. But also maybe work out some wording around the environmental space and if people
Just
have that move, otherwise we save it for next meeting. Okay.
What clause of the TRMP relates to the 8 weeks?
Yeah.
Section. Yeah, what section of the TRMP?
Yeah.
Right, because if you recommend Tasman District Council to create service request complaints regarding minor dwelling subject to section such and such and such.
That's what Kim said.
That is my
There's no jurisdiction to pass that at all.
RMA.
only thing we should do is completely slash the budget so that they
Mr.
can't.
Kirby, Sorry.
Section G under
If
the,
it read, recommends the Tasman District Council triage service requests complaints regarding minor dwellings reflected in section such and such, which is basically the 8-week rule. Just triage services relating to minor dwellings and the 8-week rule. Because that means any environmental impacts, and maybe take the freeze enforcement out. Because the triage is the bit that I'm,
Sorry.
well, I'm suggesting I'm probably not going to vote for it or against it. It's going to go to
come
council.
up with a solution.
Yeah, no, well, it might be a solution for your recommendation, but whether the Caterpillar's council accepts it or not is another issue.
And that's why I like move second or vote on it. But
Yeah.
because your issue is, you don't have an issue if there's an environmental issue and it's been proven. The issue is solely based on, that's the 8-week rule, the section.
Yes, I've got, look,
Can I put that wording in? That's fine.
yeah. I'm absolutely
I don't know what-
100% behind Mr. Dowler and everybody else over the action. You can't live disgustingly. I accept it. That's separate.
Get the wording right. That's all.
Yeah, okay, well, it's
Get the
section
wording
G.
right, I'll support it, but at the moment,
Is it
I can't,
section?
I can't.
No, it won't be. It'll be section such and such of the Tasman Resource Management Plan.
Oh, sorry.
Tasman Resource.
Yeah.
Well, it's not in that, it's just, it's under the, it's just the definition of a building, excluding exclusions of the building under the TRMP. That's what this is.
Such lots and crosses now.
Next. Hey, but for a second, I thought we were going to enforce freedom camping.
You know what I'm saying? We don't enforce that.
We used
Here
to.
you go, you've got just,
We used to. Heavily.
We used to, because when you used to go,
well, when I first discovered all this back in 2019 and I was, and I started
Yeah.
campaigning.
Right.
That was the thing I said, hey, you want to sort out the freedom campers here, the TRMP will help you. There we go, get rid of them.
So what I was just talking about is, so triage service requests
was
complaints
naive.
regarding minor dwellings relating to section such and such and such of the Tasman Resource Management Plan, which is the 8-week rule clause. So
Oh,
basically says specifically, because
yeah, that's a good
the
point.
triage part is a conversation that's happening about complaints currently. So triage doesn't mean not to enforce, it just
No,
means
it just means.
prioritize where we have resources.
Yeah.
Or you could simply go, the Motueka Community Board encourages Tasman District Council to look at triaging complaints specifically around minor dwellings related to section such and such of TRMP, which is a little bit more politically correct.
Well,
But you asked me to say that again, I've lost it, so you got to give it.
here's the thing, a bit of a solution. I hear where you're coming from, Richard, where on the other side of the coin, you've got a complainant that's going, oh, you're not doing enough. But a bit of communication and that, like, I know specifically one of them, they just want the tiny homes gone. But the tiny homes aren't the problem, it's the people living in them. So those people, well, they're not making any noise, it's just the fact they don't like seeing them. So you can move the people out or move the tiny homes. The easiest way, move the people out and then say, well, there you go. They're no longer living there.
What powers have we got to remove people out? We haven't. The only way we can take this is remove the house.
You remove me.
Hey,
You remove, TDC, remove me.
how'd they do that?
I got a phone call
Say what?
from the CEO.
To say what?
Are you living in your tiny home, Nick? And I said, yes. They said, and she's a very lovely lady. She said, thank you for your honesty, Nick, but you're breaching the rules. And you can't live in it. You could use it as a studio. And I said, it's all right, I'm gone. I'll be out this afternoon. I just move into my house. Because I didn't need to live in it. It was just COVID.
You actually moved. She didn't tell you to move. She just told you that you were living there illegally. Said, oh, well, I'll move out. She didn't tell you, she didn't come and drag you out of the house, which is what you just said to me. She came and took you out of the house. She didn't.
Oh, yeah, okay. But I've got the email, the follow-up email, and we'll see what that says.
I think it basically said you were living in a legal house and recommended that you moved and encouraged you to move. And I would say
Yes.
that if you hadn't moved within a week, you might have had a visit from the people in blue.
What do the people in blue got to do with it?
because they're the only ones that can remove people physically from premises.
Oh, well, this is interesting. So you've just given me a,
Well, that's why. The criticism about.
it was, yeah, well, I stand corrected. It was suggested that I
Okay,
would.
yeah.
Thank you.
Correct. Can also say that anybody that breaches the 8-week rule, our compliance officers do go and have a discussion with them first and try and get a solution with them. Just say, listen, this is where we're at. You're living illegally, and most people comply with it and get on with it. Some resist and no, I'm staying right here, in which case then we start getting more force.
So people voluntarily move.
Correct.
Yeah, where do they move to?
Or they get a resource consent. Correct. That's the other one, it's a resource consent.
Yeah.
And Kim, ELT, something else cropped up today about somebody, and they said, listen, we've had the discussions with them, given them the options, but they don't want to have a discussion. They just want to stay where they are. So we had to enforce. We don't go straight to enforcement. We actually try and have discussions with people first. So your comment before earlier about the council with no social conscience has got this 8-week rule was probably, I'm going to challenge you on that. That's not strictly correct.
No, that was told to me. Do you want me to mention the name?
I've read the email. No, I've read the
I don't think I should, as you say, I don't think I should.
No.
But that was at the highest level. I was told that, and then there was an immediately a follow-up email, and I'm happy to stand up in court and say that, but I understand the delicateness of the situation, Richard, so I won't. But I stand completely by my comment.
Yeah.
All right, well, I encourage you not to make any.
Okay, all right, I won't.
All right, so we'll resume.
Yeah.
Meeting.
Meeting. No,
Re-
not adjourned.
No, we're already adjourned.
We reconvene.
Reconvene, that's the word.
So I just noticed that I said we'll talk about in finance, but we've actually got it as part of our recommendations, number 6. So I don't know if we want to have any discussion around that first before we move through. But this was, this is approving the transfer of, so in our current budget of board expenses broken into 2. One's training, one's general expenses. There is very little in the general because the training has the bulk of the funding. So the recommendation is that we just shift, it's all under the same line item, but split at the back end, shift 3,000 from the training budget into, so hold on, I just wanted to put that out there, and because then we'll move the whole lot and you'll see that discussion we just had is split off as separate. Okay.
I just, at the meeting last week with the finance people, they said that the rate that you get for the Motueka Community Board has been split up to these different GLs, but it's all coming from the same rate. So you can actually change the budgets around in between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are we moving 1, 3, 4, 6 now?
Yes. We're going to move 1, 3, 4, 6 first, and then we'll come back to 2, which is the discussion we've just had.
We'll move the whole lot.
Well, hold on, we're going to do that in a chunk.
Yep.
Because we've got, well, we're going to look at, we've got the wording change in number 2.
We're receiving the report, funding for the Riwaka flags, flag poles. There's the structure plan recommendation in there as well.
Yeah.
And also the budget transfer.
And just to note, we've removed number 5 that is going to be coming up in February. So this is around the maps, firefighting, water supply maps. Yeah, it just doesn't have the specific. Yeah.
So we'll just move it to the next.
You renumber those now, can't you? Because it's going to be a new resolution, not recommendations.
Yeah, we can.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, I'm feeling position.
Right, the number changes.
Yeah.
One of those unusual situations where the resolutions differ from the recommendations. It occasionally happens. That's what applicants let you do that. Right. So who's moved to?
Okay, So do we have a mover for 1, 2, 3, 4? Board member Hughes, have we got a seconder?
Cut.
Yep. Deputy Chair Hart, all those in favour say aye. Anyone again? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 is carried. Oh, and then we need to change that last recommendation, which I don't think we've got, you can't recall your specific
Your
wording, you
head.
guys,
What did I say?
something about section something, something.
Oh, you'll need the section such and such.
Yes. Yeah, that they will still be, they will still go through.
It's,
You say freeze enforcement actions. So if someone is discharging waste to the ground, we've asked them to asked them to.
No, unless it's environmentally, unless it's environmental risks, which is the section that councillor Maru was trying to refer to.
so the recommends that the Tasman District Council triage service requests, complaints regarding mining dwellings as
As
per
per
section,
As
as
per
per
the
the
8-week rule.
maybe that's easier, yeah.
Okay, that's easier. As per the 8-week rule and the TRMP.
And I'd go, over to you now, board member Hughes, because I'd probably stop it there. If you want to
Yeah.
go further, then that's for you guys.
No, that's, I'm really happy with that. Thank you.
So then we,
Woody?
so then are you happy that we put the full stop after, so it goes
After
regarding
minor
mining
dwellings.
dwellings as per the 8-week
Yeah. And
full stop?
Yeah,
and
full
Get rid
stop.
of the freeze stuff, because then we're,
It's just that definition, nothing else.
but what we're going to just be looking
We
at,
could-
they triage now. Yeah, because it's been discussed, but it's not actually happening apparently.
Yeah, I understood that they were already doing that, but apparently that was a it was a
No.
misunderstanding or not. Oh. No, we got told.
Triage me.
So,
Urgent one's done first.
yeah, prioritise.
based on resource and priority.
Do you to clarify that or?
Sure, I can't see it, like debate over there. Why are you asking him and not me? Oh, good.
So through the chair, I guess, from a community board perspective, I think they're saying if it's simply somebody's breaching the 8-week rule, it's not as important as if it's discharging or sewage, if it's has those environmental impacts of the RMA. So I suspect that's the definition. But I suspect that would be the same triage that we would have across a multiple of things. So if there was some minor breaches of some boundary setbacks and plan stuff compared to discharge of waste and sewage into waterways, I suspect that we would, and we've got, so if we've got 2 hours and the jobs are going to take 10, that we'd do the environmental impact ones first.
Well, okay, the way I'd interpret that is that as the council triage the service route, the waste or stuff wouldn't actually come into caught into that because it's not part of the 8-week rule.
No. So it's saying the triage.
My
these
point
ones.
is why triage? Triage is regarding the location of the
Yeah.
minor dwelling
Yeah,
as
listen.
opposed to what it does.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
It only works about.
Yes, it's only about the 8-week rule, not.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff would catch up under another enforcement thing under the TRMP.
Yes.
All that is referring to is triaging the
Yeah.
timing as opposed to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, as long as that's clear, it's fine.
Yeah, but there's,
Very.
it's not just the raw sewage issue. It's the daylight angles, the firefighting, just the general position of it.
That's
could be
right.
causing grief. So if it isn't, so that's when we're triaging. And if someone's gone, well, I woke up this morning, I got no sun anymore because there's a 2-story building up against the fence. Yeah. What are you doing, man? Move it to somewhere where it isn't in my way.
And then you can turn and say, sorry, I've got 8 weeks. I'm not.
No, you still have to.
It's, I know.
The 8 weeks is separate to that. They just need to move it to a point where it isn't. And you need to have firefight. You need 1.5 meters, I understand, to go around.
Other rules.
Maybe through the chair, maybe it needs to say request complaints regarding minor dwellings solely in breach of the 8-week rule.
Could do that.
Well, clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could you repeat that again, please?
Just solely.
Councillor Murray?
Solely in breach. Yes, that was carried.
Sorry, there's a lot of chatter.
I know, there's a lot going on. And then their next bit will be, breast complaints regarding mining, solely regarding mining dwellings, complaints solely regarding mining dwellings.
Solely regarding minor dwellings.
Oh,
No,
no,
Leave that there after complaints. Solely regarding SOLE, that's it. Solely regarding minor.
Anyone's response.
No,
No, leave the regarding in.
regarding minor dwellings,
Solely regarding.
solely
Sorry.
after dwellings,
I had it right, solely regarding minor dwellings.
Solely regarding the
Yeah.
equity role. What? Councillor Madu,
Asking them not to enforce the
Where's the
act
salt?
because they still have to investigate everything else. And that's
Solely
the
regarding
last
minor
thing
dwellings, as per the equity, that's right. That's it.
that's what the initial,
Dangerous, isn't it? It gets put down that much, it doesn't actually mean anything.
yeah. Because the point of this point was really around how many people are being affected because of the enforcement actions this year.
We have to come up with something because we're not getting, and we're not knowing what the reasons for the complaints are. We're just saying we've received a complaint. That's the Tasman District Council do not go any further. They don't say, hey, look, the neighbour or the complainant is unhappy about this, and so we need it. It isn't. They just, hey, we've got a complaint, and then they go round. There's never a discussion on what the nature of the complaint is.
Was discussion at the workshop about that. And you basically was said that you be careful about that because you could actually make it quite clear who was the complainant. And we've got an onus to keep that confidential.
I have got a bombshell and I'm thinking, well, if I do say this, and this is recorded, it's going to blow everything right up.
Well,
And maybe I shouldn't. So there we go. There is my favour to the Tasman District Council. Okay, I'll tell you later on in private.
Yeah.
Okay, in regards to the ongoing protection of people's privacy.
Okay.
That is, I will say,
That's slightly
not
separate.
quite correct.
Should we just try and close this? Now, councillor Ellis made a good point because really it is around the enforcement. Do you want to re-say what you just said so we can?
I'm just trying to struggle. I mean, for me, the issue is we can't direct enforcement. I mean, it's been quite clear that we can't instruct enforcement on what they have to do. But looking at it, I mean, I'm in favour of not taking a lot of action, but I'm not going to sound like it in a minute. But I mean, if we're going through, if somebody lays a complaint about a tiny home, they have to go and investigate to check that the wastewater and everything else in the fire. Well, whatever.
What is the complaint?
That's
the problem. What is the complaint?
Okay.
We don't know.
Well, let's finish.
Yeah, but and then so by the time they work through all of those issues, the only thing left is the 8-week rule. And I'm just wondering if they've investigated and we get, you know, wastewater's okay, space around it's okay, the sunlight's okay, these things you've raised, but they're still breaking the 8-week rule. I'm not sure how, if council's done that much investigation, if they're obliged to carry it further. Plus they've used all the resources to investigate. And I'm just not sure how we would fit within that.
Because Madam Chair, this particular recommendation is only recommending the council, doesn't say they have to do it.
No, it's just the community board saying, look, this is what we're hearing.
I would suggest that you have recommends that can Tasman District Council consider triaging service requests. That makes it, it's an advising thing as opposed to anything. Yeah. If you're happy with that change, consider triaging. Yeah.
Does this all
And
make
quite honestly, I
sense?
think they are doing that now. I mean, if something's gone the 8 weeks and they're not causing any problems and they've dealt with the complainant and he's happy with it, I don't know. He or she, I'm not particularly gender specific.
So this is sticking plaster mentality here. And the big issue is the legislation behind. And
Well, And you heard that we're waiting for that other stuff so that we can amalgamate the TRMP changes with the granny flat legislation, so it's all lined.
hopefully.
I take it you read the granny flat legislation when it came in for us.
No, I haven't.
It was for new builds less than 60 square meters on a house. It wasn't it didn't cover existing buildings. It was for new builds. So, yeah, so.
Dealing with those existing houses.
But then the Tasman District Council decided to include tiny homes in them, despite,
There's a cushion included
No, no.
if we put tiny homes.
yes,
Tasman District hasn't decided anything along those lines, Nick, so you've got to be careful how you use your words.
okay,
We've done a recommendation to the government about including in the legislation reference to it.
but for our workshops, it got included. And I questioned, why are you including it? It's been included in our workshops. You've already joined it. At the same time, you're asking, can we join them? You've already joined it.
Okay, but that's.
Just
but
look, have a look at
separate-
the workshop. Have a look at the workshops.
a bit separate from here, no. I know the
I
frustration.
think everyone knows what I'm talking.
Yeah, it's just that it's separate to what we're trying to do right now. So I don't know if how people are feeling with wording. Is it meeting the point?
Yeah, that's great. And I
Okay.
thank everyone for.
So who would like to move number 5? Or
So
Should
just
I
a quick
let
point of
somebody else do it?
clarification, this is coming to full council.
in February? That's your first meeting? February?
Is it gonna come in February or we're gonna be April, May? How would we know?
Whenever it goes in the next meeting, February.
Yeah. Should we put that in there? Recommends that in to Tasman District Council February meeting, or council meeting, consider triage service complaints solely regarding money.
The other one is that we just deal with it at officer level, because
That would be great.
we just come back to you and say, listen, yes, this is how we're implementing your request,
Okay,
and that not go to council.
so then it could potentially be addressed earlier.
Surely 3 abstains, I'd say, because we're gonna have to vote on it. in a couple of weeks.
Well, Ms Kirby's just saying potentially could be dealt with in operations.
I'm just wondering whether, Tasman District Council staff consider, you put the staff in there, and then we'll just consider it and come back to you directly without having to go to council.
And the only problem will be if they come.
If you don't like the answer,
Don't like, then you've got to go
if you don't
back.
like the answer, then you can send it directly to
Perfect.
council.
Yep, because that's where the delegation sits.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's much better.
Yep, okay, cool.
Because we just got
All right.
to hold us.
Well, are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you happy to move?
Thanks for your contribution.
Number 5?
Somebody else can do it.
Okay.
Surely I don't need.
Who would like?
You've got to move it after all that.
Oh, right, I'll move it.
Okay, thank you. Moved by board member Hughes. Have I got a seconder? Is that Barry seconding? or-
Oh, it's telling 8 months to go.
Oh, come on, Mary.
You love it.
My childcare's gonna be leaving in a minute.
Oh, real? Okay, all right.
That's going to start.
I'll second.
Yep.
Everyone in favour, please say aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Anyone again? Okay, carried. All right, moving on. Poor old Mr. Strange. Special projects time.
I wonder why you were here
I
still.
was gonna.
My laptop is died, so I'm just.
There we go. Window.
I'm with you.
Page number are we on them?
New Year's, 6 o'clock.
Wow. what is fresh?
Tell us how much money you want. You got it.
I might give you some money back.
Okay.
Oh, I got, with the chair, I was just here to update on the costs for the fitness.
The shade sale?
The shade sale, so that's coming under budget, so I'm hoping to be able to go. Get some money back.
All right.
Is this debt reserve? No, this is.
Shade sale.
The shade sale and.
Which we had 18,000 against, so the update
Going
is.
ahead to order the posts and stuff like that, and in the new year, when I get back, let's have a look at some lovely colours for the shade sale.
Well done.
Thank you. Okay, shall we just quickly backtrack? So Dex Reserve, any further updates? Because you just said a few bits and pieces.
Yeah, there's a few things going on there. We're disappointed about some of the vandalism. We're just gonna leave the just the drumsticks off. Because you can
Wondering.
go and put your hands, Yeah, so we'll leave it at that for the moment. I've got some watering going on at the moment. That new ready lawn really suffered in the last little while. So I'm just getting Nelmac to come in the mornings and water those. A few plants have died, a few that have been taken out. So we'll just fix all of that and probably replant again, do some more planting in the right season.
Yeah.
So we'll also put in the new year, we'll put in the new bike rack, which will be the same as what we're doing here. Yep. Oh, the one here? I don't know, but it's what's going over. I want to get it in first, maybe, eh?
Let's get it in.
So that'll be similar. And that is all that's happening with Dex.
Right.
Then it'll be all finished.
Is the tree that they're planted still all right then? Oh.
Yeah. Check it out tomorrow.
Oh.
It'll be great.
Okay.
Not been watering it, yeah.
Oh, is that part of, was there an action?
Well, no, there wasn't. Oh, look, there's a bit of a story behind that, but we've fixed it. It'll be back and there'll be an even bigger tree in there tomorrow.
Right, but not the one I planted.
No, I'm afraid. That tree was hanging, yeah. I looked at it 2 days ago and went, that's not looking too good. And we did.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know, the mayor had to like dig a bigger hole.
Yeah, unfortunately it has suffered. So,
Yeah.
but look, brand new. You can go and touch it.
What, put some dirt around or something?
Yeah, no, we'll so that's gonna.
Okay, thank you. So is this, we need this project still on?
I'd like to come back with in the new year with a breakdown of the entire budget.
Oh,
I'll get Joe
That would
to
be
come
great.
back and break down what we've got, if there's any left and how we're sitting and things like that. So it's still got a bit to do. So
That sounds good, thank you. Number 2, now, Mr. Kirby, this was on you. This was the Maraho Sandy Bay Association. You were going to communicate with the organisation at a meeting scheduled for the 2nd of December. Did it happen?
Okay, rescue if you would like another response other than Mr. Kirby's.
Yes, councillor.
is that over?
So,
Don't worry, you weren't even here.
so I did go to the association meeting. I also went down and
Thank
voted for
you,
their
Kim.
sculptures. I had a conversation offline, which was asked to do with their treasurer. And basically, Chris Rutledge has said that the position that Maraho Sandy Bay Association currently sits in does not require the support of our board's money that's sitting there, that 2.5. However, we have an open dialogue that he could put his name forward to be considered if and when the association did need some more funding. Pledge Maraho have been very helpful in this area for them.
Okay, so.
You're welcome, Mr. Kirby.
Yeah.
Why did you just read that? Sorry.
Oh, well, it has been sitting here since 2022.
Yeah.
What?
But looks like you got given that action the last.
I wasn't
meeting.
here, I
You
got
weren't
here.
there, this is what happened.
Hospital pass, mate.
Yeah.
I get a few of those.
See, councillor had your back. So given
Thank you,
that,
councillor Dowling.
can we remove this action off the list, knowing that we have funds there, so 2.5 can go back? Absolutely.
Re-engage as and when.
Sounds good. Okay, number 3, the Motueka Cemetery. There was going to be a list of works, or just a wee table. Maybe I could reach out to
Is this more that Steve Richards? I thought it was finished and he's run
Yeah,
out of budget.
we just needed a wee table of all the bits and pieces he'd done.
Just want to list.
List of everything that he's done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Just a wee table on our thing, and then that's closed off.
Yep.
Now the eyesight Wallace Street map.
So with the Tasman Bay Promotions had a look at the draft, and they would like the Great Taste Trail map that's in the middle. They want that removed, just so it doesn't look so cluttered, because the 2 other maps have already got the cycle trails and things on there. So it's just a bit of a duplicate. So that's what they close on Friday. So we'll just over Christmas we'll just get people to approve it and go New Year.
Okay, councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you through Chair. So obviously I sit on might not be obvious to everybody, but I am the appointed person that sits on the Tasman Bay Commercial Trust committee. And I guess one of the questions that was raised is that they were not clear as to who was funding the map or how this even came to being part of our special project. So I guess for me to give some clarity, I need to know, was this our town's great idea that came to us, or because
David Armstrong, when he first got elected on the community board, he brought it around the table.
okay.
So it's a historic thing that
Yeah.
I've just taken over.
So I guess for me, it was more around just using this as an example. So when we do special projects, how does the community know this has come via this process and what got the community board's name attached to it?
Is it
Just out of interest, because
So goes out for public consultation. In the first round, that would have been 2020.
I don't know, because the resolution, this one, so it must have been an old one.
So through the chair, there's two ways that a special project can be established. So the preferred way is that the special project goes through the public consultation round, and in that way you really know, regardless, how that they've got that support. The other way is through a resolution of the board and tagging those funds. I guess the caveat on that is that it's that there's confidence of the board that there is community support for it. And it's not a sort of a pet project of a certain group or something.
What do you?
I appreciate that response, Gavin, but I guess I flip that over and go, how does the community know who put that up? Who's endorsed it, who's funded it, and if something goes wrong, who's liable to fix it? So at the minute, it's got eyesight, our town,
TDC.
and TDC. Nothing on there says community board. So I guess that when I sat in their meeting on Thursday night and they challenged me, is that, well, we thought this was because it was clear, our town. I'm going, oh, well, actually, no, this is a special program through community board, and they're quite educated people sitting around that table, and they're sitting going, oh, that's interesting. So for me, fronting something to the community, is there something that we could be putting on there to say this is actually being done, proudly done by your community board?
Yeah, that's.
Thoughts?
I think I know you probably don't like this through the chair.
Oh, surely not.
This is where you make a decision for your local community. It is the Tasman District Council.
This special project is done specifically through the part of the district council known as the Motueka Community Board. However,
You have that.
just saying.
I'm making.
Also.
Funded by even.
Why, Motueka?
Actually,
Yeah, just to clarify.
Hold on, we'll just listen to Deputy Chair, please.
So just to clarify, this was an old.
Right, that we put on here.
Let's just listen to Deputy Chair. She might have a.
Oh, I've got lots of insights. No, this was a historic one from 2 years ago. First round that David Armstrong went round to public consultation. That's how it ended up.
It fell out, didn't it? Sorry, through the chair, it fell out, and then the board decided to put all the other ones back in.
So,
That's
yes. So anyway, so the meetings I've had with Adele and Rohan from the, I've made it very clear that it's funded by the community board. So if there's other people that don't know, then they haven't let their people know that it's funded by the community board. But Adele and Rohan have been told several times. So if they haven't retained the information, I can't.
So can we get our logo on there?
So we want the community board logo instead of TDC.
Or you could just make TDC smaller and put with community board in there.
Yep.
Well, currently it has, I think, from memory, TDC, Tasman District Council, that's for the Prince of Robin, who told me off. Our town in red right in the middle, and their eyesight on the other.
Yeah, now sorry, through the chair.
Which is why they thought it was
Because
our town, because your fair middle in red, the rest is all black, and then they have a image that they'd like removed.
So through the chair, the reason Love Motueka is in red is because that's the colour of the logo, but also we were specifically asked when we spoke to them 18 months ago, a year ago, whenever it was, because the old board there, it's got Able Tasman .com or whatever it is, and who's got no, it doesn't mention anything to do with the eyesight at all. So Adele said, can we please have the Love Motueka logo on there? Because we've got a direct link from that website that takes people to the eyesight to book. So
It makes sense,
Yeah.
but I guess the conversation for
that
them
was
and for
purely
other
their
groups is
request.
who is responsible for special projects and where is that money coming from?
they
At
were
least with our
told.
logo on there.
Yeah, they were.
So that's the action coming out of number 5.
So,
MC
Municipal-
by logo. Number 6, do you know anything about that one, Mr. Strange? This is the nest swing and parts got missing, so some more.
We ordered some from Auckland, and if it hasn't arrived, it was what before Lynn went.
Said it has arrived,
It has arrived.
said waiting to be installed by staff. That was in November the 26th.
That it's arrived.
Says
Because if
new
it had
parts
arrived, she's
together.
instructed someone to put it in.
Okay,
Through the chair, I've got that action update from her before she went on leave.
yeah.
And that will be dealt with after in the new year.
I don't know.
New year. Okay.
Quite far away. Okay, so update, install,
It'll have to be New Year, but I was happy to
January.
try to deal with that before Christmas, but
okay. Thank you. Be a nice community thing Mr. Kirby to do. Right, and you've done number 12 about the cell shades, number 15, the sign, that's a new year one too, yeah? Update, so new year revisit. Okay, all right, finance report. Oh, hold on, do I need to move these? So I'll move the special projects. Can I have a seconder, please? We'll do councillor down, I'll have a turn. Everyone approved, please say aye. Anyone again? No, carried. Okay, cool. Finance report. Thank you, Mr. Strain.
have a good Christmas. Thank you,
You too.
Yes, have a good break.
Too much. See you tomorrow, Tony.
Lots of water, lots
Lots
of
of
water.
water.
Nice, pure, healthy ball water.
The,
Nice and contaminated. Well, he should have went probably half an hour ago. 6 o'clock when it was going to close noon, but anyway.
Let's finish this up.
Now, finance, this is the last part. He got what he wanted.
you were talking for like 40 minutes. And
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's
And
my
now he's
fault.
ready to wrap it up.
No,
So, point 1.3 is incorrect. I've talked to Liz. She's just because she had to rush the reports for the last 2 months, she's left the same expenses in there. It is $23 for November.
excellent.
Now we have. Anyone want to say anything? I think I clarified around the board expenses in the other one. Just for clarity of public, there is a total of 167,000 in reserves, which is a closed account. So even though it's reflected in this budget, it is not readily accessible. But that's something the board can look at to potentially move funds out of reserve, so we have them in our discretionary fund, which we probably actually should do, so we've got some for February, and the special projects.
You look at the special project fee, which you've got 189,000.
We've got 41,000 available
Yes.
right now, which is great,
Yep.
and then 147
That's
in
right.
reserves. Now the one I think maybe we should do a motion is the discretionary fund, so we've got some in February. We've got, haven't seen anything.
I know, we all know what she's moving. Just
So-
move the money.
Let's potentially, we could look at moving 5,000 from our discretionary fund. There's 14,000 in reserves. Yeah?
Yep.
So we'll just give Gavin a chance to
Where are you moving to?
into our open account. So that's to go to council. Yeah. This is in reserves.
Move it to.
So maybe we
discretionary
do
funds.
And you want to move it up to where?
into discretionary funds accessible account. So at the moment,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, so we've got 14K in reserves for discretionary fund and we have nothing left in discretionary funds. So we want to shift 5,000 in there. So that will take us through to July.
So.
Pretty hefty expenses coming in.
This is discretionary.
That's all that's needed. Council, is it?
Out of reserves? Is that what? Matt said?
You want into the balance brought forward, some of that 14,862, you want to take 5,000 of that.
And put it into,
In addition to the 5,600.
no, there's no money.
Finance have said
Digital.
that
Right.
if it's within the financial year, if it's a pool of money within the same financial year, then you can move it between.
Out of, not out of reserves though.
And then if it's budgeted, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's unbudgeted and outside of the financial year, then it needs to go to council to. Yeah.
So that money that's balanced brought forward from 23-24, that's already been brought forward. We don't have to get approval to spend that, do we? Because that's in this year's budget. It's been brought forward already.
Brought forward into this financial year.
Yeah.
That's the way I read it, but admittedly, I know that I've been getting finances very, very busy. And
Can I suggest that you pass your resolution?
Yeah.
But subject for
Back up.
subject for confirmation from kind of council's finance team.
Fantastic.
If you could just do that, and then we'll just make sure that that's okay. If
Sure.
it's okay, that's fine.
Because your brought, sorry to check, your brought forwards are accessible for you in the year. of the
Correct.
budget.
Correct. It's part of this year's budget.
So yeah, that's the whole reason for the brought forward.
Yeah, because when you council passes a resolution, I think it's about September.
Yeah.
So
Basically
it's
approving all the
covered.
brought forward, and it gets added to this year's budget straight off. So you don't have to revisit it.
Okay,
and if it's in the locked reserve, that's when you go into.
Correct.
all right. So let's have a motion,
How many?
So
5,000.
5,000 from the balance brought forward 23-24. You can say from the 14,862 brought forward.
14,862.
And added to the
Like something.
5,669. Subject to the financial 5,669.
No, just 5,000. Oh,
No, bring.
add to,
Add
sorry.
to the 5,669. The reason I'm putting exact figures in is it's quite clear then.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
We don't. but it was-
5,669.
The budget was.
Oh, right, yeah.
Add to the, maybe put the budgeted amount.
Which is,
Allocation.
just the budget allocation.
So, Chair, Mr.
Budget
Chair,
allocation.
Mr. Kirby, you're absolutely right.
Oh,
So
absolutely right.
First time tonight I'm right.
Conversation we had. Whenever we had that.
Yes, on Friday, Thursday.
The only locked funds that haven't been brought forward for the community board to use, because the brought forward funds have been brought forward to be used in this year. They brought forward for 24-25 and the youth development was the balance.
Yeah.
Those funds have been brought forward to use, no different to yours. This accumulated surplus is a little bit of that, which will be the leftover from the leases from the market or any other bits. But you actually, so if that's the same premise as operations in your spend,
Yeah.
they're already unlocked.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a resolution of council. Board should be able to access the remaining balances on all those funds.
Do we have to have something in writing for him to
So you've
shift
already
it
got it,
over?
because council's resolution in September approved a whole of
But on the
brought forward balances,
How
what
does
we
it-
did for operations and
Well done, gentlemen.
everything else.
Well done.
The only one is the equity one that's
We're
not
shuffling.
working surplus deficit, that 2,228, that hasn't been brought forward. That's the one that you get council approval to use, I think.
No, that's part of that stuff. It's part of that. It's part of those carryovers. So part of the 188.
6,000. Gavin, budgeted allocation is discretionary funds, yeah.
Yes.
Allocation, discretionary.
But the brought forward part, unless there's another 237,000 on top of the remaining balances in those,
There
which I
is a,
suspect there isn't. Because according to the November one, there's a remaining balance of $14,876 in discretionary. There's a remaining in the youth of 5,825, and there's a remaining in special projects of 188,999. Subject to that brought forward part plus this year's budget, which means it's usually.
Resolution, you're right.
Otherwise, Mr. Kirby needs to go back to council for everything he spends in the previous budget to get resolution to council.
No.
You don't.
Right.
Why would
So,
we?
I just wasn't sharp enough. We had the workshop and Mr. Kirby was
Right.
off his game as well.
And
I gave you a compliment and then a backhander.
yeah, don't worry, that means a compliment, it's coming again. You've got to make the sandwich,
Sat there and listened.
2 bits of bread.
So we just received the
Right.
finance report. Okay.
So,
Well
let's
done.
put it in his backup because Matt
go.
didn't say
Okay.
that.
No, but we probably didn't have those figures either. He had that spreadsheet and that PowerPoint was on our day.
They had like,
Passing an extra resolution.
Now that you've done that, I will check to make sure
Yeah.
that we're interpreting it correctly.
Yes.
Sure you are right.
And on the,
councillor Maru, do you think we should do that anyway as a backup?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay,
I'll
so
do that.
we are moving, receiving the finance report. And number 2, that the board, would.
Just added approval instead of advice.
Okay, the board transfers 5,000 from our 14,862
Yep.
to add to the 5,669 budget allocation discretionary funds subject to finance approval.
Brilliant. So,
Okay, moved by Deputy Chair, seconded Board Member Hughes. Everyone in favour, say aye. Anyone again? Okay, carried. All right, I will close this off with karakia and we're out of here. Ka whakai ria tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia tūru ki whakataha ai, hui tai kia, which means restrictions are moved aside, so the pathway is clear to return to everyday activity, rich, unified and blessed. Thank you, everyone.